Professor Abdigalie and Boyamoru, whose tenure at the Electoral Agency ended in January 2023, also declared vacant are positions of former IEBC Vice Chairperson Juliana Cherera and Commissioners Francis Wanderi and Justice Nyangaya, who all threw in the towel before a 9-member tribunal was appointed to probe their conduct in the August 9th polls. Commissioner Irene Masitu remains suspended, however, decided to stay put and is awaiting the verdict of the appellate judge Aggrey Muchelule-led tribunal. Now, suspended High Court Judge Said Juma Chitambwe has filed a notice of appeal against the decision of the 12-member tribunal that unanimously recommended his removal from office for gross misconduct. The tribunal that probed his conduct was headed by the Court of Appeal Judge Mumbingogi and handed its report to President William Ruto a week ago. Justice Chitambwe had 10 days to appeal the decision from the day the report was handed to the head of state. The recommendations for Justice Chitambwe's removal came after the Judicial Service Commission asked former President Uhuru Kenyatta to form a tribunal to probe the judge's conduct in line with the Constitution. Now, the National Assembly is set to determine the suitability of United Democratic Alliance Party Chairperson Johnson Muthama to be appointed as member of the Parliamentary Service Commission. This comes after Muthama's name was submitted to the House in a special motion by Nyandarua woman Representative Faith Getau, who is also a member of the Commission. The House plenary will determine if he fits the bill to fill the slot left vacant by Samuel Chepkonga, who resigned to contest for the Ainab Koi parliamentary seat in last year's general election. Speaker Wetangula also communicated to the House President William Ruto's nomination of Shadrach John Mose for appointment as Solicitor General to take over from Ken Ogeto. The former Kitutu Masaba lawmaker will have to be vetted and his suitability for appointment determined by the National Assembly plenary. He will be vetted by the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs, which will then table a report in the House within 28 days on March 9th, 2023. And Inspector General of Police Japhet Kaume is in Turkana County to personally lead a multi-agency operation that brings together officers drawn from the Special Forces of the National Police Service and the Kenya Defence Forces as ordered by President William Ruto. IG Kaume visited Kainuk area where just days ago bandits lay an ambush on a police convoy, killing 3 officers. He promised to put banditry to an end. With hostility between communities one of the main causes of conflict, IG Kaume called on local leaders to facilitate peaceful coexistence. Now, President William Ruto is calling on trade unions to change their approach to labor issues. He challenged them to expand their focus from salary increment to creation of more jobs and more savings. He spoke when he met workers' representatives at State House, Nairobi. They were led by Secretary General of the Central Organization of Trade Unions, KOTU, in Kenya, Francis Atwoli. The President said labor unions are integral drivers of policy making that contribute to equality and inclusive socio-economic development. And Gladys Boss-Sholay, the National Assembly Deputy Speaker, has come to the defense of nominated Member of Parliament Sabina Chege following remarks made by Azimio leaders during a rally in Machakos last week. Sholay said it was regrettable that the Azimio team was disrespecting Chege even after supporting the alliance in last year's election. The former Muranga woman representative has been under sharp criticism from Azimio leaders for declaring support for President William Ruto. The attack stemmed from Chege's meeting at State House, Nairobi, where she went with 31 other Jubilee party leaders. And the Teacher Service Commission has defended its choice of a private medical cover for teachers over the National Health Insurance Fund, blaming it on lack of funds and advice from the National Treasury to tender the process. TSC CEO Nancy Macharia appeared before the National Assembly Committee on Education to respond to questions from members who sought to understand how insurer Minet has been winning the tender since 2015.
Even if we had taken them to NHIF, there is still co-pay. It is a standard practice in the insurance industry. Even as in the Secretariat, we have an insurance scheme. We still have co-pay.
What is this that informs the entire system that whenever there is a tender every year, Minet qualifies again to provide?
It's not always that Minet must get it. It's the tendering process.
I'm Dennis Aseta. Good morning. (102.5) SpiceFM, Kisumu.
You're tuned into Kenya's biggest conversation. My name is Ramanya.
Amen. Amen.
So 1 hour is over?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It gets over
Can you imagine
in 20 minutes.
what the big boys have also done?
I'm very proud of myself.
When you understand about partnership in politics, it's like the way marriage is these days. When you're looking for a wife, you're like, oh, maybe you can help me pay for fees as I pay for the rent.
Why should you have a lioness living in your bedroom?
I have to tell you a story. I went for a prayer meeting, which was called for the spouses of candidates for senators and governors. And when I got to the gate, the lady who was the secretary, she refused to. She's telling me, no. Leo tunataka wa mama. Leo ni wa mama. I'm telling her, no. She said, no, sio siku yenu. And I thought, there's a problem here, because if it was a man, but this was a lady.
It will be called First Ladies until you change the name.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. SpiceFM.
It's getting hot in here.
Oh, everybody steals. It's better a thief who brings something small back. And I say to myself, there's no better thief. A thief is a thief, period.
All those bribes, how much they're getting per year, how much inconvenience they're causing. As much as you call it a small case, it's worth it to be convicted.
The truth is, we are a tribal nation. Because if we were not tribal, and I want to go back to this, you cannot continue walking around with a mug which is clean outside and it's rotten inside.
We have become a Fuliza country. We have mortgaged our country because of debt.
You've got one chef working and the assistant chef wakati anatakana koroge unga nini hayuko.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Have you seen them? Am I lying?
Yes, it's a very nice outfit, I must say. Good
Thank
job.
you. Asante sana.
The compliment is well received.
Good morning and thank you. Everyone in Wasingishu was asking me, what channel is SpiceFM?
96.7. Tell them that, right?
Yes, now they know.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have you.
What a beautiful studio, my friend.
I've been to other radio stations, but I've never seen anything like this.
Thank you. And it's very nice to be in a modern studio. Absolutely brilliant.
And I have to say, it's a very cool ambiance here in your radio room. Just for our listeners, I think it is below zero in this room here. Very Swiss temperatures.
If you go out of this country and come back the same person, then you have a problem. Buy land, 1 million. Put it there for 5 years. What's the purpose?
It'll have increased in value.
No, that's the thing. That's darkness. That's an eclipse. You don't do that.
I hope you don't believe that a hustler is a poor person or that all hustlers are poor. I've seen that conversation.
Tell us, who is that? So who's a hustler?
Hustler is a person who is making a living through hard work.
Corruption in Kenya is a political accusation. The people who are actually corrupt are not pointed fingers at.
Kenya is not free. Kenya imeshikwa na mateka. It's under siege.
Have you seen that lodge on Nyeri Road? Very high fence. You can't even
Windows
sleep inside.
up near the ceiling.
Yes. And if you walk there at midnight, you see bats the size of cows.
And when it rains, it doesn't rain on that building.
Yes.
When you're at All Saints and it's raining, it doesn't rain on that building.
The things people will believe.
In the middle of a week, and it looks like it's not going to be too bad today. We have some action already on the Thika Superhighway coming into the city. Are you on Mombasa Road? Well, you won't have an issue getting into town. Are you then touching on Outer Ring? It'll be all right also as you get into the city via the Thika Superhighway or in the other direction coming out towards the Eastern Bypass. Looks good coming out of Westlands. Not too much activity there, at least not for now. Now is the time to get out if you plan to. It's probably going to get messy later on in the morning. So let's take a look at what it looks like in a short while. But for now, you're all right coming in from most parts of the city today. Talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Let's keep things moving this Wednesday.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi. This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room.
Good morning, and how are you doing? Welcome to The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. Welcome to a new day. Welcome to Wednesday. Ndu, how you doing?
Cold, they catch me, I beg. Cold, they catch me.
Ulikuwa unafanya nini nje? Bila sweater.
I didn't expect that it would be cold.
Nilikwambia usitoke nje bila sweater.
Who are you beating?
Sasa unaona umepata homa.
I didn't say I have a cold. I said I'm feeling cold.
Utapata unafanya nini bila sweater? City,
yes.
How you doing?
This morning?
I'm actually very well.
No, that's parenting. It's called parenting.
So now you're saying, hey, your dad, you're my dad.
Parenting. You don't remember your mother doing it at your, it's not sniffles. Ha ha ha. Did I not see you? At 6:01 p.m. without a sweater.
You saw me at 6:01 p.m.
Did I not see you without a sweater?
A sweater which I bought.
Yeah. And
I
now
bought
here
for
you
you
are.
to wear.
You've started sniffling here. Hey. Wait.
Don't sniff in my house.
Yeah? Hey. Don't.
But
Anyway.
are you people not feeling cold today? More than yesterday, Abby?
Generally.
No, as in more than yesterday. Yesterday was quite warm. This morning is a bit frosty.
No.
No?
No.
Is it me?
Today's what happened? What which?
Today's Wednesday. It's a bit colder than it was yesterday, Nespa.
Out there.
For me, it's a bit Nespa because I'm actually feeling warm.
City.
Perhaps it's the tea.
It's perhaps.
But this heat that we have, and especially when Ndu and I consulted the meteorological department and we saw the birds.
Yes.
That's the consultation. It's going to rain, man.
No, Edna will be angry with me. I'm wearing all these things. Not even organized myself. Sorry.
Nespa.
Yes, that one. It qualifies, doesn't it?
Sindio. That is Nespa right there. Right there. City, how was your day?
My day was really busy yesterday.
Very good.
Very, very busy yesterday.
Very good.
I was... you did meet a friend of mine yesterday when we were at the canteen. Yes. And that gentleman is engaged in some very useful work. And he wanted me to give him a helping hand. And it brought to my attention something that we perhaps don't give adequate notice. I think it's on the 3rd of December every year we celebrate the International Day for People with Disability. But right now we've been in the throes of discussing CBC and the wheretofores therein. Okay?
Yes.
But we haven't given a care or a thought to those who are disabled within the learning fraternity. Because if things are difficult for parents, things are difficult for students who don't have disabilities, how much more do you think the children who have disabilities, how much more do they have? And what about the parents who also have children but have disabilities and they live with disabilities? How bigger do you think their challenge actually is?
Wow, that's very, very true. So what is he doing?
He is engaged in a process that brings prosthesis, brings wheelchairs, brings crutches, brings all these appendages that are necessary to make a person living with disability live a normal life. Yes. He has an agency and a group of friends in the US. They do their collections. You know, some of these things are abundant.
Yep.
and yet they're in very good repair.
Yep.
So they collect them over a long period of time, ship them into containers and bring them. And they also work with groups like Rotary,
right,
so that these things can actually be distributed by, should we say, units that actually do that sort of work. There's a group called Ubuntu in this country that they also work with. They also do the same work with people in Uganda. But that's what they do. They make sure that people who can't afford to have these appliances that make their lives better receive them free of charge.
That's very good.
So they create a whole list.
How do they identify the need?
They go to agencies that deal with disabilities. Like if you're talking about Kenya, they look for the Kenya agency that is mandated to look after the interests of the disabilities. And they tell them the numbers and the people, the children, the grown-ups. They go to schools like the school in Thika, and they pick. So by the time the items arrive in this country, the recipients already know what they're going to receive, and they know when. It's a long list of people who need it, but it's prepared. So like now, they have one container in the country, 2 more on the way.
That's great.
Good.
Yes.
Good. Leta ye hapa.
Mtaleta ye hapa.
Hapa ongelesha kwa wananchi.
Yes. That is what we will do.
That's a very good story. That's a very good initiative. Very, very good one. Ndu, please tell us about COVID.
Okay. Why COVID uptake remains low in Kenya. Some Kenyans still believe that being African is enough protection against the virus.
Yes, it is.
Survey has been conducted, and to find the reason why there's vaccine hesitancy that's still so strong, because we've been told, look, come out and get the thing. People are saying, what? We survived dengue, we survived malaria. Some of us have been living... This thing is not going to do. Okay. Some people prefer the single shots. That's another reason why. They don't want to get one and then go back, get another one, then come and be boosted. No. But the major thing being that the common belief is that being African is just enough to give you protection from COVID. The Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union, DP, Dennis Miskela, said that even though it has not caused a devastating effect or had devastating impact on Africa, there are no proven links to the low numbers. Now, proven to being African, you get it? That it's not. There's no link to say that because you're African,
then
that
therefore
is why we are seeing low numbers of infection. They also did the survey to find out the reason for vaccine hesitancy, and it showed that some Kenyans, really do believe that being African is enough, so you don't need to go and get the jab. According to Miskela, they believe that vaccine causes erectile dysfunction, while others thought the vaccine is laced with family planning chemicals, sterilization fears, once again.
Okay.
They said that some people who said they took the vaccine have increased appetite, and you have to respect, because culturally, when you are in Kakamega and someone starts spreading rumors that their appetite increased after taking the jab, it leads to an impact on the uptake. You can't just be hungry anyhow. Other factors that
Pigwa shindano sasa nasikia tu njaa sasa.
Yeah, sasa nitakuwa nakula saa zote. No, please. Hakuna pesa. Nitakuwa nakula all that. No. Other factors that lead to vaccine hesitancy. It's not me who said it. It's the survey. Other factors that lead to vaccine hesitancy include the fact that people prefer the single shot, so they don't want to go back and forth. And they believe it's more potent. That whatever is in that one shot, boom,
it's better than
the 2, 3, and other boosters. You get it? So naval. So they're saying that there are those who are spreading rumors. For example, they're told that if you take the vaccine, you cannot drink alcohol for some 2 days. There are those who said that if you take the vaccine, you go into withdrawal symptoms, you start to behave like a drug addict. Others said that they had the disease and they didn't die. So now, which shot is it that you're going to come and give them? After all, their body's defense is strong enough. So, I mean, vaccine hesitancy is a thing. These are the reasons in Kenya.
Did they actually determine that being an African doesn't play a part in you are not being adversely affected?
No, that's the thing that the survey said categorically, that they've not been able to prove one way or the other. That you cannot prove that because you're African, you have a higher immunity, or that you do not. They've not been able to prove that. So I can see the wheels of your mind turning right about now, CT. You believe that you're Homundu.
Mwana strong.
20 minutes after 6. Let me quickly tell you what we'll be discussing today, and then we take the weather break. 7 a.m. we will be discussing this issue of NSSF deductions. President William Ruto says, wait, tumemaliza your story. From the end of this month, NSSF deductions go up. Now, the Secretary General of the Kenya National Private Security Workers Union, Brother Isaac Andabwa, we have to call him brother. He's a unionist. Brother Isaac Andabwa will be joining us at 7 a.m. to have that conversation. 8 a.m. let's talk about the impact of deploying the KDF to banditry-prone regions. Dominic Wabala is a security expert, and Daniel Nanok is a member of Parliament for Turkana West. Both of the two gentlemen will be with us at Sangapi.
Did you just say both of the two?
Yes.
Oh, City has the answer.
So even the ladies who are in the union are also called brother.
Yeah.
They. Them.
Or is it brother, sister?
Well, Gwenda.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
This is 00 Direct, woman host, music by women, and only women guest.
Everything is so larger than life. You kind of have to have a good understanding of who you are. You could easily lose yourself.
We have a global approach in the programs that we put together, meaning that it's not just about refining my business, it's about refining the industry, it's about touching the youth and making sure that in totality, change actually happens.
Catch 00 Direct every Saturday from 10 a.m.
Only on 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
It's mostly clear in Nairobi at 17. Highs of 30 today. Going to be a warm one. Highs of 29 in a mostly clear Nakuru, and it's 12 degrees and clear in Nyeri. Highs of 29. We'll see highs of 27 in a clear Eldoret, coming down to lows of 12. Mostly cloudy conditions this morning in Mombasa, highs of 32, and we'll see highs of 31 in a partly cloudy Malindi at 26. It's 20 and clear in Kisumu, highs of 32 and lows of 20, and we'll see highs of 32 in Kakamega, where it's currently clear at 16. Out in Kampala, it's cloudy at 17, highs of 30, highs of 31 in a partly cloudy Dar es Salaam at 25, and it's 17 and partly cloudy in Johannesburg, going to highs of 23. Lagos will see highs of 35. It's hazy this morning at 27, and partly cloudy conditions at 22 in Kinshasa, highs of 31. Looking out into Beijing, it's 2 degrees and mostly sunny Wednesday afternoon, highs of 5 and lows of -7. While Paris is clear at 1 degree, it'll go to highs of 12, and we'll see highs of 14 in a clear London at 5. 8 degrees and mostly cloudy Tuesday night in New York. Coming into Wednesday, we'll see highs of 12 and lows of 6.
Chilled Spice. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
4 minutes after 6.
Maverick Aoko woke up very many hours ago and decided to greet us even before the show began. Maverick says, Spice FM, can you believe, or rather, can you imagine, I'm on your YouTube page at 3 a.m. in the morning. That's how loyal I am to the Situation Room. I try to catch up with news and programs I missed, and yours tops my list. Hey, Maverick, good morning. Karibu.
Maybe she's back to sleep.
She's back to sleep. Okay, we'll see. Spice FM KE, Julia is awake this morning. She said, I have never in my wildest dreams thought Mbona Ujava sweater would ever find its way in a national radio. But now it has now it has. Punctuation, Bana Juliet. But now it has. Let me tell those that are fond of asking me that it's the most rhetorical question I have to ignore. Okay. So people even now, Julia, asking you why you've not worn your sweater? It would appear.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a very valid question.
Isn't it?
People care about you, Julia.
Julia, people care. Okay. Nzamba says, good morning to you, lady and gentlemen. Good morning to you. Karibu sana. Henry Malumo is tuned in this morning from Kibera and says, good morning. And Dorcas Mash is tuning from Makongeni in Thika. Okay, everybody's clocking in this morning. Magoti says, good morning, tuning from Doha. Doha is in where? Qatar. Mombasa well too, and that's where Robert is this morning. Loresho Waweru Ngeve says good morning. Zachary Ondio is tuned in, and he said, from a relatively colder Kakamega town, good morning, Spice. Honourable Martha Wangari's time at the hot seat yesterday deserved 2 hours. Yeah, sorry. I understand that a majority of JSS students are yet to report to their schools, indeed, and that is sad. Monis Janeth says, good morning, Sir CT, specifically to you.
Thank you very
Then
much.
the rest of us now have been greeted after that.
So, may I also thank the rest of you for receiving the greetings. on my behalf.
He's tuning from Singapore and says good morning. Mary Kiyama's tuning from Kitengela. Simon Odhiambo says good morning, friends. At last, you can now see why people need to invite Nancy Macharia to the studio. We knew this a long time ago, but you must also understand that personalities are different, Simon. And before you came up with the idea,
Usijali,
you had
Simon.
thought
No,
about it.
it's a good thing, Simon. Keep pushing. Because we keep pushing.
We keep pushing also.
And we keep asking.
And we keep asking for her
And
to
we
come.
keep imploring.
We will keep
In addition
asking.
to that, there's also the CS Machogu himself and the PS Dr. Belio Kipsang.
Kipsang, yeah. They can come. It's
Yes,
important. They will
yes,
have to.
yes.
Because of the story that you will see in the headlines today, I cry. I weep. However, it's necessary. So, yes, good morning, everybody, and thanks for joining us. Karibuni sana.
Karibu sana kila mtu. February continues giving and Showmax pia inaendelea kugive. Yeah, make sure you go to showmax.com, select a package, and if you pay for 1 month, you get an extra month free. That is only valid for this February. Hii mwezi kisha.
Amen.
You're on your own.
Wow.
Haya, City. Give us the day's proverb.
Yes, we are still in the country of Zambia.
Okay.
Whose capital is? This question carries 1 mark.
What does the mark equals to?
1 peremende.
Ah,
Capital of Zambia.
Lusaka.
Correct.
Iko wapi Peremende?
But yeah, Peremende.
Now.
All right. If you insist. So, let me talk about the proverb as
you look for the
As
peremende.
I look for the peremende. Yeah, come on.
You're a good man.
Square Peremende. Usikule sahi. Save it for later.
Yeah, much later. Like tomorrow. Okay. He who paddles 2 canoes sinks.
Where is he sitting when he's paddling them?
Now, that's what I want you to imagine.
Maybe he's not sitting.
Yes, maybe he's standing.
In the
there
water.
are 2 canoes and he's paddling 2 canoes. Now, imagine the outcome. Paddling
Maybe
1
he's
canoe is
standing
tricky
on
enough.
each.
On each.
One leg on each.
Yes, now you tell me. Yeah.
He who straddles 2 canoes.
No.
Okay.
Paddles.
He could be sitting on one and also
Paddling the other.
paddling the other.
It's possible.
What if he's sitting on one and just pulling the other one? So he's not paddling both. Okay. Yeah, I get it.
That's the other proverb.
Yeah, okay.
The proverb for tomorrow.
This one
This one is for
is paddling.
The one for today, he's paddling 2
paddling
canoes.
2 canoes.
Okay.
The one way
Both.
the one way is
At the
towing.
same time, simultaneously, together.
Yes.
All of the 2.
All of the 2. So let's look at the newspaper headlines. What's on the front pages? Letter
Yani.
Business Daily, Ndogo.
Business Daily.
Eh.
Why don't you look and tell us what is on the Business Daily?
Okay.
And I will tell you what's on the
East Africa.
Thank you very much.
It's true. Today's Wednesday. No problem. No shakies. Okay.
Right.
You guys. This newspaper today is hot.
It's warm, huh?
The front page of the Standard. Shock of grade 7 learners now being enrolled for KCPE. Dun dun. Murathe Kioni ejection sealed. Dun dun. President Ruto's prayer for Kenya. Dun dun. That's what's on the front page of the Standard. Then, you guys, the church has been given a new role. President Ruto, the church to be central in national affairs.
Okay.
Okay? President Ruto says the church will be at the center of national affairs as he leads the country in prayers for rain following the prolonged drought. So now, church has been given internal affairs position, national affairs position. Now, on the front page of The Nation, for which I weep. KPE scandal. KCPE scandal. Education CS Ezekiel Machogu tells schools to validate exam registration data. There's a syndicate going on, and it's really sad. We'll look at the details of that later. Ruto scores 2 quick wins against Ryla. KDF boots hit the ground in the battle against the bandit menace. This is already going on. So, just in case you were wondering whether the Gazette notice was doing the thing or not, interestingly enough, I saw a comment from Andrew yesterday, and he said, you know what, parliamentary assent or not, KDF is going to go into the North Rift.
Who's Andrew?
Andrew Franklin.
Oh, that one. Yeah. He said,
you guys just be here.
Parliament is just rubber stamping. That's what they've been told directly. This one, we're just coming to you to rubber stamp, but we have decided we are the Constitution.
We are the Constitution.
Yeah.
So you can amend or not amend
you
or
can deal with it.
That's up to you.
Kenya ni kubwa.
On the back page of The Nation, window for NSSF private scheme contributions is open. And a man wants retail chains barred from selling repackaged sugar. So he says, you people take sugar, we don't know where it's coming from. You now put your packages on it. Should not happen.
Okay.
MPs are querying the renewal of teachers' medical cover despite complaints. They're asking why, what. Okay, we'll look at the details of that.
Business Daily. How Chase Bank paid the chairman 1 billion shillings bonus from bond proceeds. Just 1 billion shillings. Former chairman of the collapsed lender Chase Bank, Zafrullah Khan, was paid 1.052 billion shilling bonus from the cash the lender had raised from investors through a corporate bond. Documents filed in court reveal that the money was paid 4 days after the lender raised 4.8 billion shillings through the bond in June 2015. This was in breach of anything you can think of, regulation, agreements that demanded proceeds from the board be used to support the lender's expansion plans and strengthen its capital base. Hiyo ni story moja. Another story. US, that is the USA, issues Kenya a default notice for 57 billion shillings KQ debt.
Oi.
An American-backed financier has slapped the Treasury with a default notice for delayed payment of 57.8 billion shillings loan that the government guaranteed Kenya Airways. The Treasury Principal Secretary Chris Kiptoo told Parliament that Exim Bank of the USA has landed in a default notice after Kenya has handed in a default notice after Kenya failed to remain up to date with payments of the loan. Kimeumana. Another story on page 9 of the Business Daily. Kenya is also facing another mountain of challenge on the debt front. There's a $2 billion Eurobond that's maturing.
It's enough.
Tumachana na hiyo?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. City, what's on the star? The front upper corner of the teal.
Green. Green. Do you have anything to say, Ndo? Okay.
No, please.
Green. Defiant ODM rebels plan to meet DP Gachagua today. This is a story on page 6.
Okay.
It's good. Bang in the middle. Double blow. Registrar of political parties clears the way for removal of Kenyatta men. Then, Uhuru on verge of losing Jubilee to Ruto. It would be sweet victory for president, one of the brains behind the once vibrant party. And then on the side, state splurges, meaning it pours. To splurge is pouring in an uncoordinated
with
manner.
Reckless abandon.
You abandon
That one, okay? Splurges over 1 billion on new fleet of vehicles. All right? Yes. For state officials, blah blah blah. But this story is the headline.
Incomplete.
Yeah,
the headline is not telling the story the way the story is telling the story.
It gives a certain impression. It's not the whole story. Yes. Then it also has that lawmakers poking holes in the teachers' medical cover.
Okay.
Then we have a picture of the boss of the police service, brother engineer. Okay. Right at the front in battle fatigues.
Okay.
And behind him are police officers. In battle fatigues.
Okay.
But then below it are pictures of lady police officers in 2 sets of different uniforms, all holding roses. This, I think, is indicative of the day that was celebrated yesterday, or what was being celebrated yesterday as a global event.
Okay.
Otherwise known as Valentine.
And there are no men there holding roses.
On the picture that I mentioned, there are 4 ladies, okay?
Each holding a rose.
A rose, okay? Ask the question again.
There are no men.
There are no men in that photo.
On the
25 minutes to 7. Let's take that break. We want to see what the roads are looking like, and then we'll look at the newspaper details.
Yeah.
The newspaper stories in detail.
Detail.
That's better. Higher.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Get 2 months of Showmax for the price of 1. In a give, Real Housewives, rich auntie vibes, and that bling. Sama kuwa mocha. Toast to luxury. In a give, single Cassie, girl power. Cheers! And gravity-defying Top Gun victory flyby.
Haven't any fun yet?
Woo! In a give kupindukia. So subscribe now to get 2 months for the price of 1 from only 300 shillings.
And it looks like these streets are going to be... Wait, what's going on the Thika Superhighway? We've seen these warnings that it's going to be crazy today because of something. Please tell us, what is that something? Because it has already built up quite some, all the way from that outer ring junction well beyond Safari Park. And we're looking at it well at the at this point, that Roiro bypass junction. So what's going on? Please let us know if you have an idea, and we can spread the word. I don't know that if you're coming from home off the Thika Superhighway, you have another option. Well, you do. The northern bypass, come around through Limuru Road, end up in Tanzania. Okay, I don't know. But it could be an option. Yes. All right, coming out of Westlands, there's a little bit of traffic, but nothing too painful. Into the CBD then, from Jogo Road, it's going to be slow because it's piling up as you're going towards Landis and then out towards Kamkunji, Gong Road, Naivasha Road, Gitanga Road. Those are looking good for now. There's an option for you to get away from your home into the city if that is your plan. Mombasa Road, hunky-dory as it were. Let us know what's going on in your neck of the woods. SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice.
KCPE scandal, crisis of confidence. Parents are colluding with teachers to register grade 7 students in the final primary school examination under the 844 system, which will take place in December this year.
Wait. Say that again, slowly.
Parents are colluding with teachers to register their grade 7 learners for the last KCPE that will take place in the 844 system in December this year.
So parents are registering grade 7s as
first class
for standard 8.
Yes, the JSS first ones. They said, you guys very good. However, what we need at the end of this year is the KCPE results. All these things people are doing, we are not understanding, number one. We don't have confidence in the system, so please, just let us do the exam. Then we know we are done. Then that school will just hear details. They will erase, now according to the plot, they erase any kind of evidence that showed they had anything to do with CBC from grade 6 or whatever, looking as though you went through 844 from the very beginning. So that now as they register you for the exam, you do the exam, they know that you are transferred from another school as a class 8.
Wait,
do you understand?
So somebody was in grade 6 up to December, all right?
They finished primary school.
They finished, They're supposed to be in 7.
Yes.
But at the end of this year, they'll pretend they were in 8.
No, right now, they will pretend that they were in 8.
At the end of this year when they're sitting KCPE. So that they can sit
the exam. But you see now, sorry, go ahead. Then I can explain.
So so for them to sit KCPE at the end so they are registering them for the end of this year to be in KCPE.
Yes. But in order for that to happen, you must prove that you're in class 8.
Yes.
And this is the last class 8. So now to the schools that they're being registered, they also have to prove, where are you coming from? So they wanted to look as though they transferred from another school in class 8 to then be able to come to this school. That is why now you were registered as a class 8. Sure you get.
Is this happening in public or private?
It's happening in both.
In both public and private.
That is why, number one, the CS has gotten wind of it. Somebody blew the whistle somewhere, and usually as it is, sour grapes somewhere were eaten, and the bitterness factor comes into play. The syndicate
someone was patriotic.
Oh, okay, sure. Okay, let's call it that.
Yeah.
The syndicate is thus. Parents are unhappy with CBC and are bribing teachers to register grade 7 learners as KCPE exam candidates. I'm telling you, this country.
Wow.
The scheme involves falsifying student personal records to erase traces of other academic footprints. With falsified identities, the children are presented to new schools as transferring standard 8 pupils. The government is tracking the progression of learners to flag unexplained spike in the number of registered KCP candidates. So you understand, right now, there are 2 windows that are open. One, the window for now the last cohort of class 8s for them to pick their high schools is open now. It closes on the 30th of March. Also, registration for exams is an ongoing process. That window closes at some time. So this is why all of this is happening. So the ministry is wondering, all these people who are suddenly registering for KCPE, where are they from? And according to our numbers, it shouldn't actually look like this. And according to patterns that we've seen, we shouldn't have such a high number at this time. That is when they started to find out. And now the person who is being patriotic now said, guys, this is what is happening. The parents are talking about lack of faith in the CBC system. They don't want their children coming through that system. They want them to finish the KCPE exam and go to Form 1. Do you understand?
I can see.
Experts warn that the maneuvers will cost pupils 39 months of learning, that's 3 years, and put their future at risk. Kenyans prefer CBC to 844, according to one study, but there are parents who are saying, no. I want that exam result so that I know how my child performed. I don't want this holistic learning when you say ability. No. I want to see the marks.
I actually don't think the issue with the parents is primarily the issue of I want to see a result and a mark and all. I think it's just it mostly would be looking at what's happening now with these grade 7s and having a fear that your child could actually be wasting 3 years in this thing called JSS, which is not going to benefit them. So why not just continue into the one that is already established? Do KCPE this year, go to Form 1 next year. There's already an established system for secondary school. Continue. This 1 year that you'll sit here, just mark timing, could lose you 3 years of JSS, which is the government doesn't seem aware of what to do with. If I was a parent, I would think that way too.
Pwani University lecturer Professor Yakobo Mutiti says there is a danger when parents dodge CBC for the old system. Unlike Dr.
What danger is he talking about?
Let me tell you what he said. He said there is a danger because these learners went through the CBC system. Remember, these class 6s started just before grade 4, right? They went through the CBC system, and now parents are forcing them to 844. Parents doing this have a problem with CBC. They think it was rushed, which I agree with. But let's give CBC more time. It was rushed. The problem with this country is that experts are rarely consulted. He said the danger is that they would actually lose those 3 years from grade 4, grade 5, and grade 6 that they studied by being forced back into the 844 system.
Experts are consulted. Whether they are listened to is a completely different matter.
Yeah.
But they're consulted. All these target groups and what are they called? Working groups.
Working party.
Yes. They are full of experts. There are people who actually know this trade very, very well.
Where? This is a big one, though.
It is a big one, and the ministry is now investigating, and they're saying that after this emerged that some children are being forced to avoid the JSS under the CBC. They're bribing head teachers to allow them join Standard 8 and eventually sit this year's KCPE exam. Fake records to to facilitate. We're looking at exams open February 1st, closes March 30th. So when you register, you're also registering for exams, those 2 windows that I was telling you about. Reports have surfaced about some head teachers, for instance, in Garissa, Wajir and Mandera counties, enriching themselves from the CBC transition by registering grade 7 learners as KCPE candidates.
I wonder how they do it. There's a NEMIS system. I thought the NEMIS actually contains all your records. It shows that you are registered, this is your biometric, and that's why. So when you're going to register for KCPE, they're using the NEMIS. When you go and falsify this data, you come up with a false birth certificate that shows that this child is actually older. So they fit to be in grade 8, in standard 8. You would be falsifying. So how do you enter that into the NEMIS? Although, that means
My dear, worse things have been done, Jerry.
Yeah.
Are we not the ones who read here that a school that is supposed to be receiving capitation fees that doesn't exist,
not supposed to be, had been receiving?
But it was cut out because now NEMIS was implemented.
Yes. But also, when you talk about these parents, do they have the numbers of parents? Because
numbers as in 1, 2, 3, or numbers?
Do they know how many?
How many? Because it's being spoken of as though there's a very large number of parents who have decided this is something they are not going to do. Is it 2, 3, 4, 50, 100, 300, 400?
I don't think if it was a minimal number that it would receive this hoo-ha that it is.
No.
Now.
We in the media can do that.
But I mean,
this is coming from the PS.
This is coming from the PS. This
is
coming from Belio Kipsang himself.
Let me tell you something. Even if, is he giving the numbers?
In the story here, it has not mentioned the number, right?
Yes.
In the circular, probably he has not also mentioned the number.
Yes.
But the ministry is concerned because they've seen a spike in the number of registered students who are registering in standard
See, the reason why I'm asking the question is when they see the spike, in the absence of the numbers, how do we know that it's a spike?
Because they know the children who are in standard 7.
Yes, they do. But it is a concern. The issue of registering students who are in standard 7 for the standard 8 exam is not new. Okay? The numbers are not that many, but it's not a new thing. The CBC curriculum is very different in many ways from the 844 curriculum. So you could actually be putting the child in jeopardy in terms of learning because you're getting them to sit for an exam they didn't prepare for.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
That I understand. But when something is being presented as an emergency, and we know the number of students who are expected to sit for the exams, and you don't present the numbers, then you are giving us an incomplete story. You see, I have difficulties commenting on it because I'm not even certain what it is that I'm supposed to comment about. Yes.
I take it that by the time the PS is saying, we have noticed the worrying spike. We know the number of learners that sit KCPE each year. Okay, so we already have that data. There's a pattern. We know the number of learners who are in every class every year. We know that. We know the population census, the number of learners who join grade 1 and those who finish standard 8. When we see a spike here, and the spike is not 2 or 3, the spike must be in some hundreds.
I would be a lot happier
if you actually saw how high the spike was.
How spiked it was, because then I would understand and say, you know, this one
is clear.
Yes, but for me, what's even more concerning is not even the spike. You're talking about the students. The students aren't registering themselves. It's the parents who are pushing the agenda. Now, the story here in my mind is that the parents are beginning to push back against the CBC. They are beginning to defy the CBC. Now, if there are numbers, then the numbers of those students would correspond to the number of parents. Okay? Now, that, for me, would be a worrying trend. Because if parents do not have faith in your system, the students who are their children will also not have faith in the system. Now that, in my mind, is a bigger problem.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So let me tell you about what's happening in Jubilee. So some Jubilee lawmakers went and met with the president last week. Remember that?
Yes.
The Jubilee top brass, led by Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni, said those people who went there were going there in their own personal capacity. In fact, we may think of what to do with them. Okay? Those Jubilee lawmakers and some other people met and they called themselves the National Executive Committee of the party. And they decided, among other things, to change their top leadership. So they replaced, and the chairman of Jubilee was present, they replaced the vice chairman, that is David Morathe. They also replaced Jeremiah Kioni, the Secretary General. That matter went all the way to the Register of Political Parties, who was asked, hey, madam, Who do you recognize as the official? Now, the registrar, Andy Rito, says Jubilee National Executive Council meeting held in Nakuru on February 10th adhered to the party's constitution and was thus properly convened. The communication by the arbiter of political party affairs fans the flames of revolution in the former president party and scuttles attempts by embattled leaders to kick out some of its members who have aligned themselves with President Ruto. Jubilee, which is an affiliate of Azimio, is split between a faction allied to the coalition leader Raila Odinga and another one supporting Kenya Kwanza administration, which successfully removed Jeremiah Kioni and David Murathe. The registrar says the office has taken note of the contents of your submissions and the resolutions. It also noted that the meeting was properly convened as per the party constitution. That means, as far as the registrar is concerned, Jeremiah Kioni is just merely an ordinary member of Jubilee Party. And so is David Murathe. Now, that is one on the party. In the Senate, the House Business Committee is a committee that decides the order of things that are going to be discussed at any given time by the Senate. Okay? It comprises several members, of course chaired by the Speaker, and then there are other members representing political parties. There was an initial list that had been taken to the Senate that had a list of members to the House Business Committee. It had comprised Ali Roba, who's the Mandera Senator, Veronica Maina, who's a nominated Senator, Hilary Sige, who's Bomet Senator, Maureen Tabitha Mutinda, nominated, Professor Margaret Kamar, nominated, Munyihaji Mohamed Faki, Mombasa, and Ledama Olekina of Narok. However, when the Speaker tabled the list for consideration yesterday, Mrs. Kamar and Professor Kamar and Ledama Olekina had been replaced by Machako Senator Agnes Kavindu and Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna. That did not go down well with Isiolo Senator Fatma Dulo, who rose on a point of order and wondered why the sudden change, saying she could not understand why Jubilee was not well represented. There was a Jubilee nominee earlier, and now there are no Jubilee nominees in this house. Now she's wondering, there is no formal communication that Jubilee has left Azimio coalition. I have seen that the list has been changed and Jubilee is not properly represented in the House Business Committee. Therefore, I totally reject the list. Samson Cherargei also wondered, there are some people here who are experienced, who are on the initial list, and now they are not here. Remember, for example, Professor Margaret Kamar is a former Deputy Speaker of the Senate. Experience. Ledama Olekina is a third-term Speaker, Senator. Experience. So, they are not here. So senators are wondering what's happening. Meanwhile, you're Menda. City.
You know, everything that I am looking at and reading in the political sphere reminds me, it's a throwback of the days when we had a one-party system under KANU, and there was a very strong disciplinary committee. Now, there was a process that KANU used. Sometimes a matter would begin, as in the process of getting rid of an individual, would begin with a roadside declaration or a statement that we hear, perhaps there is this. Now, somehow there are people who had, in those days we didn't have this idea of software, but people had the software to understand what was being said, and the process of removing those individuals from whatever position they had was then set in motion. Now, I see a repeat of this in what I'm seeing going on. This party is doing this party, because it's happening. It's happening in Jubilee. We see, according to the media reports, ODM also has MPs who have decided them.
They're not doing it.
There's nothing that we're seeing here that has not happened before. In a one-party system, it was more interesting to watch because everybody was in KANU, also ostensibly in KANU. But even within KANU, the levels of jostling and the moving, the back and forth and what have you, it was supreme. Then when Ford was formed, we saw the jostling again. And with the jostling came Ford Asili, Ford people, Ford. So we are not seeing something new. It may be new to people who've just reached the age where they understand the politics of this country.
Yes.
But it isn't new. Why am I saying this? The outcome of these moves are also not going to be new. It is not difficult to tell what the outcome will be. These are skirmishes. It's not even a battle. Okay? When there is a battle, you will see. And you will know because you will understand the ramifications of it. All these are parting shots to try and see how are these people going to react to this thing here. But of significance, in my mind, it seems like, again, back to the KANU days, the idea of trying to ensure that if I am the president of a country, I have full control of parliament. Again, this is also not new. This one started actually at independence, when there was the first kick to try and form a different party other than KADU. And people walked across the aisle. And then something else happened. Then they walked across the aisle again. Again, we are not seeing anything new. No.
Hakuna. There's a story I want to tell you, and then you can tell us what happened to this Jamaa. There's a border operator in Mombasa who yesterday admitted that he faked the death of his daughter, his mother, and mother-in-law to obtain money from his insurer. This man is called Philip Kauma. He told a Mombasa court that in 2021, the man went to UAP and he paid a full year premium of 17,000 shillings to get some last expense policy.
That's right.
Okay? It's called the last expense policy. So, in the policy, Kauma listed his 6 children, his mother, and his parents-in-law as the people who are...
as the dead people.
Yes, the people to die. That was in what? That was on May 3rd, 2021. Akachukua policy na akalipa 17,000. 3 months later, May, June, July, June 17th that year, he went to Old Mutual and he said, his daughter Veronica had died. The insurer paid him 100,000 shillings.
Just like that.
Say he's part of the policy.
Lakini,
his policy.
They didn't ask for... Okay, sorry.
Ask for what? See, your insurance policy. That was in June. July.
Somebody else died.
He went and said, my mother has died. My mother has died. He was paid 500,000 shillings, paid out in 2 installments of 250 Gs each.
Wait now. Okay. Sorry.
So June, daughter. July, mother. Okay? Higher. In November, he went again to the insurer. Same year. And he said, my mother-in-law, amekufa, ametuacha. Insurer was like, wait a minute, wait, boss. Surely. Boss. You gave us 17,000 shillings. We've already given you 600K. And now, even your mother-in-law has that. No, let's investigate this issue. They found.
Everybody is alive and kicking.
Yes.
Yeah, these are stories.
Good.
Went to court. The man was put before in court. He said, I'm doing jokes. Sasa shilingi 600 ni kitu ya kunyima mtu shwali. Kupeleka mtu kotini shwali.
No, first of all, see, they had said insurance. And if somebody dies, well, I reported they had died.
Yeah.
I didn't say they had died.
You didn't say they had dead. But even this insurance, even them, you just dole out cash like that.
No.
See, as per
you say you'll present the documents.
You present death certificate.
Yeah.
Yes.
You'll come with all those documents.
Yes. Even the picture of...
You're not required to bring a body.
Okay, I got that.
It's just a document.
For what? Document.
Dota yangu huyu hapa.
I'm a daddy. The thing is...
Even him, he saw... No, but you must understand the ease with which he was getting this
This
cash.
was a long game. What? By the time the guy was actually going and inquiring, okay, I can take a last mile, the last rights insurance, blah, 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 blah. How much do I need to pay? 17,000 shillings. And then you list the number of people who in this cover. Okay. He brought his 6 children. He brought his mother. He brought his mother-in-law, father-in-law.
He was going to kill all of them to get money. Yes, now.
Long game.
All of them.
Keep it here for more conversations coming up in the next hour. Before we start with our next guest, Ndu will tell us about this robber who went and fell in love with the victim. Yeah. What happened to him? Good morning, 7 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newsroom. Dennis Aseto. President William Ruto has declared the positions of the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission chairperson and 5 other commissioners vacant. He declared the positions vacant through a Gazette notice dated February 14, 2023. The declaration by the head of state now sets in motion the process to replace immediate former IEBC chairperson Ofula Chebukati and commissioners Professor Abdigalia and Boya Molu, whose tenure at the electoral agency ended in January 2023. Also declared vacant are positions of former IEBC vice chairperson Juliana Cherera and commissioners Francis Wanderi and Justice Nyangaya, who all threw in the towel before a 9-member tribunal was appointed to probe their conduct in the August 9 polls. Commissioner Irene Masit, who remains suspended, however, decided to stay put and is awaiting the verdict of the appellate judge Agri Muchelule-led tribunal. Suspended High Court Judge Said Juma Chitembwe has filed a notice of appeal against the decision of the 12-member tribunal that unanimously recommended his removal from office for gross misconduct. The tribunal that probed his conduct was headed by the Court of Appeal Judge Mumbi Ngugi and handed its report to President William Ruto a week ago. Justice Chitembwe had 10 days to appeal the decision from the day the report was handed to the head of state. The recommendation for Justice Chitembwe's removal came after the Judicial Service Commission asked former President Uhuru Kenyatta to form a tribunal to probe the judge's conduct in line with the Constitution. And the National Assembly is set to determine the suitability of United Democratic Alliance Party chairperson Johnson Muthama to be appointed as a member of the Parliamentary Service Commission. This comes after Muthama's name was submitted to the House in a special motion by Nyandarua woman Representative Faith Gitau, who is also a member of the Commission. The House plenary will determine if he fits the bill to fill the slot left vacant by Samuel Chepkonga, who resigned to contest for the Ainabkoi parliamentary seat in last year's general election. Speaker Wetangula also communicated to the House President William Ruto's nomination of Shadrach John Mose for appointment as Solicitor General to take over from Ken Ogeto. The former Kitutu Masaba lawmaker will have to be vetted and his suitability for appointment determined by the National Assembly plenary. He will be vetted by the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs, which will then table a report in the House within 28 days on March 9, 2023. And Inspector General of Police Japheth Koome is in Turkana County to personally lead a multi-agency operation that brings together officers drawn from Special Forces of the National Police Service and the Kenya Defence Forces as ordered by President William Ruto. IG Koome visited Kainuk area where just days ago bandits lay an ambush on a police convoy, killing 3 officers. He promised to put banditry to an end. With hostility between communities one of the main causes of conflict, IG Koome called on local leaders to facilitate peaceful coexistence. Now, President William Ruto is calling on trade unions to change their approach to labor issues. He challenged them to expand their focus from salary increment to creation of more jobs and more savings. He spoke when he met workers' representatives at State House Nairobi. They were led by Secretary General of the Central Organization of Trade Unions KOTU in Kenya, Francis Atwoli. The president said labor unions are integral drivers of policy making that contribute to equality and inclusive socio-economic development. Atwoli in his address echoed the sentiment, saying time for politics is over, adding that KOTU will work together with the government in pushing its development agenda. And the Gladys boss Sholay, the National Assembly Deputy Speaker, has come to the defense of nominated Member of Parliament Sabina Chege following remarks made by Azimio leaders during a rally in Machakos. Sholay said it was regrettable that the Azimio team was disrespecting Chege even after supporting the alliance in last year's election. The former Murang'a woman representative has been under sharp criticism from Azimio leaders for declaring support for President William Ruto. The attack stemmed from Chege's meeting at State House, where she went with 31 other Jubilee party members. Sholay also condemned the remarks made by Mumias East MP Peter Salasia directed at Bomet woman representative Lynette Tor during a rally in Busia. She warned that the country was headed for a dangerous trajectory if no action was taken. And the Teacher Service Commission has defended its choice of a private medical cover for teachers over the National Health Insurance Fund, blaming it on lack of funds and advice from the National Treasury. TSC CEO Nancy Macharia appeared before the National Assembly Committee on Education to respond to questions from members who sought to understand how Insurer Minet has been winning the tender since 2015. Macharia told the committee that the commission will require more than 2 billion shillings per year for their members to be on the national scheme, NHIF. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
All right, it seems to be coming and going on the Thika Superhighway. Also have traffic on Kiambu Road today. Looking at Kangunda Road, busy getting and touching on Outer Ring, crossing over, then towards the city. We're also looking at it heavy on Juja Road. The Eastern Bypass also looks pretty busy right about now. Mombasa Road not looking too bad till you get to the Nyeri Stadium roundabout, and then you're going to, clog up a little bit as you're going out towards that Haile Selassie junction. Into the CBD and then out towards Westlands, where it's busy on Wayaki Way. It's busy on James Gishoro as well. Ring Road Westlands giving this morning, and it's inching slowly into the city. Traffic hour starts in no time. Let us know what's going on where you are this morning, and let's talk on SpiceFM, KE on Twitter.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room,
7. Good
the
morning
only
and
way to
welcome
start
the
your
second hour
day.
of the Situation Room. Thank you very much for tuning in on Spice FM, on KTN Home, or on YouTube and Facebook, where we live stream the show. Have you sent the word Vipingo to 22365? If you have, then you must have received a message from Vipingo Development, that is from Centum Real Estate, and they've told you much more about the Vipingo development in Kilifi County. This is what they'll have told you about. They'll have told you about the number of houses that are there in the Palm Ridge Phase 2, from just 1.98 million shillings for a studio, or one bedroom that's going for 4.05 million shillings, or a two-bedroom house that's going for 5.85 million shillings, or a three-bedroom house that's going for 6.75 million shillings. This Palm Ridge apartments in Vipingo are the thing. That thing. Imagine abundant water, such that when we say that there's a swimming pool around, you don't have to wonder, this swimming pool takes so long, because they cannot just recirculate the water. So they have water, all right? So swimming pool works. Children's playing area, abundant and very well done and very well maintained children's play area, and all. Please send the word of Vipingo to 22365, or you can call Vipingo Development and Centum Real Estate on 0740 400 215. That's 0740 400 215. All you need to do is pay a down payment of 10%, and the rest, discuss the payments. Sawa. Is it sour? We have a guest in the studio. He is Brother Isaac Andabwa, the National General Secretary of the Kenya National Private Security Workers Union. He's here so that we talk about this NSSF story and what the unions have been discussing. They were with the president yesterday. He'll tell us about that. Let's welcome him, City, with the day's proverb.
Yes, our proverbs for this week come from the country of Zambia, whose capital is Lusaka.
And whose national dressing is Kaunda suit?
Actually, it's interesting because the gentleman who presided over that country as its first president at independence, yes, Kenneth Kaunda, had, the garment that he wore that represented the suit was a garment that was actually worn by Chinese officials. It is, if you look at how the Chinese dressed, forget the traditional dressing, these collarless garments that look like a coat. Now, he wore it frequently enough. So that's where the term countersuit came from. Because it is him who was recognized as the person who wore it the most. Yes. So if you like, and if you're a Kenyan, then please claim by all means that the countersuit was invented in Zambia. Okay?
It's their national dress, the national suit. Higher. The proverb?
He who paddles 2 canoes sinks.
He who paddles 2 canoes sinks.
Yes.
Higher. Okay. Brother Isaac Kandabwa, good morning.
Morning to you.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you.
The hot seat of the Situation Room. Make yourself comfortable. It's going to be a smooth ride. That proverb, let's start from there. He who paddles 2 canoes sinks. Do you get it?
I get it. I think what he says, I can also translate in my mother tongue, Luya. If you cannot prepare 2 sufurias of ugali at the same time, you must prepare one first.
You have to say it in your mother tongue.
Shonyala ku khwarekha tsinyongo tsibere bushimata olukanga endala kwanza neyakha bwekhande khoranga indi.
What's the word inside all of that for ugali? What's inside? What's ugali?
Ugali is a staple food for.
No.
Yes.
The word
ugali in your Kiluya dialect.
Yeah.
It's just bushuma. It's bushuma.
Bushuma. Okay. Why is it that you union people call each other brother and sister?
Yeah, because we need to work as a team, and we are taking that one from the biblical understanding. Like my sister who is sitting on my left, we are working towards a common interest in terms of assisting those ones we represent. So first, what comes out clearly in terms of a brother or a sister is brotherhood and not enmity. So we need to work first. If you want to succeed, you need to embrace teamwork. And you look at oneself as a brother or a sister, because that is the ultimate objective.
It is a solidarity.
Solidarity.
I see. Sisandu, umesikia?
Yeah, got it, brother.
Okay. Now, the Kenya National Private Security Workers Union. Tell us about that union. Who does it represent?
First, before I go directly to what you are asking, I think from my school, I joined the U.S. Embassy government as a private security officer. I've never worked in another profession. So in American Embassy, we were being paid quite well as compared to the other indigenous cards. So I had a dream of changing the industry into a professionalism. You remember there was a time when I was a serious Kanu fella, youth in terms of political.
You were a youth winger.
When Moi was still there. And those days we did not have the handouts that are now flowing these days. The biggest thing was the T-shirt, Kanu T-shirt. Once you have a T-shirt, you're home and dry. So there was somebody who gave out burst that lawyers are watchmen and the cooks.
Let us come on.
Yeah, when I was still in Form 2. Then I said one day I must change this for better. Because I believe private security or a private card or that watchman is just a job like another job. So what was lacking in Kenya, it was a professionalism. So I came up with a Kenya National Private Security Workers Union. That was in 2007, and with the intervention of KOTU and the Ministry of Labour, we really got the same registered. And the issue, the objective was actually to uplift, to address the general welfare of the private security workers in the Republic of Kenya, not the watchmen, as we used to call them.
So the correct term is not watchman.
Yeah, I've done away with the issue of the watchman. That was the first assignment. And I went to court and I challenged, that was a colonial terminology that was giving people negative perception about the job. And we have private cards in America. I was there. Recently I was in Italy. We have private security officers, and they ought to be respected. So you see some of these names that we call ourselves, they also generate and give people bad idea about ourselves. So this name that we call ourselves have meaning. So if you call somebody a watchman already, that is a negative
derogatory.
Issue. Yes,
you find it derogatory.
It tells you what kind of salary is going to get as compared to others.
And that's what you felt when you informed too.
Yes, civilization.
And you heard Kamodo saying, yes, cooks and watchmen.
Yes.
At that time you were informed too.
I was informed too by that. Yeah.
Why did you choose this profession?
I did not choose. This profession is for lawyers automatically, because we have never been in the government anywhere. We don't have those even a connection. We don't have. So you will find 60% are lawyers. So it's our professional. It's a lawyer professional. And also another element in terms of that, lawyers, they are very honest. You cannot, you do your own research. You will find that when you leave a particular tribe in a residence job, and Muzungu goes to America, when he comes back, there is nothing in the compound. But the lawyer will still there, stay there, plant some sukubas there. You see, it becomes his or her home. So we are good for that, because we are honest people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I understand. I think now is when the penny has dropped, and I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's.
Hey. Okay.
So, are you saying that because of the character?
Yes.
That is why then this group of people is then destined for this work.
Lawyers are the most honest people when it comes to the issues of security.
Okay.
Yeah. Even you can trust them with your property. When you go do your own things there, you'll finally find them the one just still guarding.
So then you can say that Jessica Mother was right.
No.
Kamodo's comment was derogatory, and it was meant to be insulting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, he was not.
He was not looking at it from this point of view.
No, it was not.
All right.
You know what I'm saying. There is no difference between private security officers and the police. And what comes out clearly in terms of security is honest and doing the work professionally.
Right.
So what we needed to do for the cards, to uplift them, to repackage them.
Yes.
To come to the level of professional. That was my interest.
That was the interest of the union.
Yeah.
So now, just from what you're saying, I'm hearing that then that is what you went on to do. So how did you do that? Because essentially you're saying something that may have then been informal. You need somebody. I remember seeing you walk through particular neighborhoods and you see some 10 or 15 people being lined up and being told to march, and that's how you then are trying to install some sense of security responsibility and discipline. But from what you're saying is that now you are professionalizing it. How exactly have you been able to do that? And then using the union, how have you been able to do that?
I want to say I've achieved a lot. The industry is not the same that I found. Once I came and I mobilized the workers to join and formed the union, I had a dream. And the first dream, you cannot professionalize anything without first going a training, a basic training. You cannot become a media personnel like yourself without undergoing a particular training. So that one was lacking. You cannot become a farmer or a qualified doctor without undergoing a training. So I advised the government, we need to have an academy for the private security officers. And we need again to dispose the issue of watchmen to bring some civilization. So the best way you can professionalize a particular interest is through institution. So that is on my agenda, and in fact, I have done the proposal to the government. Some people misunderstand our job, because our job is to complement the national security agents. We are not police, we are not JSU, we are private security officers, and they are found across the world. Therefore, people misunderstand. Like I heard somebody talking about the private security becoming national service. You see, that's how we miss the point. So, the private security's role is to complement the national security agencies. And you cannot do that without the knowledge. You cannot do that without being empowered. You see? So, we began a serious fight, reform agenda. And I lobbied several times. And I thank the Jubilee government, because now we are what we call the Private Security Regulation Authority. Have you heard about the same? The one that is led by Fazul Mohammed.
Yes.
Yeah, that is my baby.
That's the one that now registers all the private security
There is nobody who actually
all guards.
Yes, there is nobody who actually aggressively campaigned for that other than the Kenya National. We walked all over, we interacted with all the government stakeholders, and we were supported by employers. Now we have Private Security Regulation Authority, which is supposed now to undertake the framework in the industry by professionalizing the industry, regulating the employer, regulating the investor, and regulating the private security officer himself or herself. Therefore, I want to tell you something. You know, we have had a lot of noise coming from NAT. The always conflict between the Teacher Service Commission and the
National Union of Teachers.
The NAT.
Or the teacher unions.
Yes.
They're various.
What is the conflict? The conflict is the Teacher Service Commission, which is an employer, wants to regulate the teachers. And that's not their role. And vice versa to NAT. That is why we say we must have in private in teacher teaching fraternity, we must have a regulator to regulate both the employer and the employee and the teachers. You also find a lot of noise coming from the nurses,
from the medical
health
fraternity. Yes.
The problem is the same thing. So as much as people are calling us watchmen, we went ahead and we have a regulator in the name of Private Security Regulation Authority. And that was a very serious landmark win. So now we have a CEO in the office of the regulator who is now supposed to address all those concerns in the industry.
If the workers have concern, they go to the regulator.
That is the regulator, that's the government win.
If the employer,
and,
the companies have concern, they go to the regulator.
Yes, and how serious is the private security? You see, I began by talking about the name. The name means a lot. Whether it's private security or public security is paramount. You don't choke around the private security because most of the intelligence information on the ground, it comes from the private security. So we need to have that missing links, that miscommunication from the private security to the police and other security agents actually linked up. Because, for example, you are walking in town, Nairobi, and you see a lady being mugged or somebody doing a bad thing, maybe criminal kind of activity. We are supposed, because we are all over. We are in the mashambas, we are in the construction, we are in the installations of government, all over. You see, and I can also shock you about the number. The number of private security, all the security combined agents cannot match it. It's around 800,000.
800,000.
And 1 million.
These are the ones that are registered.
The ones that are operating in the Republic of Kenya. So what we need to do, just to breathe the hope in them, and then organize them properly and give them the catches, tools, equipments of working. You will never hear about the issue of the terrorists in Kenya. Why? You cannot hear about terrorism. You cannot. If we can have a proper linkage between ourselves and the National Security Agency. And we can only achieve that when you have an organized way of doing things. And that is why I went for the regulator first. Because when the regulator is there, then the other ones will follow. Then number two, as I have said that we cannot professionalize any industry or any sector without having an institution. We need to have what we call a private security academy somewhere in the Republic of Kenya as a reference point for two reasons. To make our job professional, to remove that perception. You remember
watchman
which is very wrong. Yeah, that is again demoralization. And we need to motivate them. So if they are complementing national security agents, then they are very much close to the heart of the government. Hii mambo naona watu wanaenda sikii kule wanawao kule ati wana recruit maskari sikii kila mwaka naenda rudi, na wala ambao wana recruitiwa wanaenda wanasoma alafu they disappear again from the force because of the challenges here and there. We can fill that gap if we are properly trained, so that the police and other national security agents go and concentrate on the bigger job. Na hii mambo ya carding hii, VIP, we can do it. And we can do it even better than the police. Yes, because security does not mean you must carry the gun.
Sure.
Security means the way you pass information urgently from point A to point B for further action.
So now you're advocating for a private security training academy.
That is number one. That one is we are demanding, we are not even requesting, because how do we handle the professionalism issue? Because as a KK,
and you want to be a government agent, you want to be,
and we need to have what we call a single curriculum, just like the teachers. And we need to have also those cards to be have like overall, like
the proper ranking.
Ranking. Okay. You see, ranking, what we call a career path. You cannot remain there as a card for 50 years, and you retire, you are still a card. That is the motivation. That is what I'm doing for the private security industry. Then the other thing, when you organize people like private security, like 800,000, what has it been? It means, again, we need to address the issue of the empowerment. Employers have several circles, but those circles are for the employers. Even they contribute to what we call shares. They are not assessing the loans. You can you know them in a metro and so forth. We need to have a serious sectoral circle for the industry to empower people, because their salary is peanuts. And the best way to empower your people is through the savings and cooperative. You see, and that is I'm happy yesterday when I was at Ikulu with my boss Katibu Atoli. That was again the dream of the president. He wants to empower the lowly paid workers.
Yeah. Security is a major issue.
Yes.
There often has been the sentiment that those that are available are not adequate. Now, when I say adequate, I mean in numbers. It's just not enough, because there's an internal security situation. I mean, when we see that there have been security lapses here and there, the question is who feels what? What in your mind, or rather from your experience and practice, is necessary in terms of training? Because if you're able to knock down what is necessary, then perhaps it's then easier for those who would be in a position of authority to say, okay, this is the kind of academy that we are going to set up. And then do you have enough people to instruct so that somebody's going through 9 months? Or are we going through the same process that the folks at Kiganjo go through when they're going through training?
You know, the my sister, the problem is not what you are saying. We have more than enough security personnel in the Republic of Kenya to take care of this country. But the problem, the leadership. You might have a very brilliant idea, but nobody take you serious. Now, you see, what you say, the government does not need to pay the private security officers, because those are private security officers, they're not public.
Let me track back just a little bit. My question is, you're talking about the institution of an academy here to train.
Yes.
So if you want to train, does that mean that there are people who are raw and fresh who have no idea what it entails to operate within the security guidelines? Or do we need these numbers that you're talking about, which are adequate? Do they need a refresher course? What would this academy be doing?
Maybe to be specific, training is a continuous process. Even education is a continuous process. Therefore, in terms of the security, we need to do what we call a refresher courses. Maybe every 3 months or you go back for refresher course, so as to acquaint yourself with the emerging, because security keeps on emerging here and there and challenges. But I'm saying those ones, which the 800,000 that are there
currently, they have
gone in various training centers like KK has got his. The chief forces have their own training. But what about the curriculum? What they are training is something that can actually fix the challenge of the current time.
Okay.
So we don't have a permanent issue. Some issues which are security concerned keep on emerging. So which means even after you have been trained properly and you are on assignment, you must create time to go back for refresher course. Sure. And that is what we have been doing in American Embassy Security, because I used to work for the American Embassy. Yeah. So we can even copy the American Embassy style of training to keep these people aligned to the emerging issues and alert. And like for example, you have seen you have a card, Eric. You have a card at your place.
Yes.
Then all of a sudden you find the same card again, washing your car. You find the same card again, irrigating cutting grass and doing. You see, that's not what we want. We want those people to be responsible. If it is about manning this, they are skilled officers.
So that's all they do.
Yeah,
because you actually even go into some financial institutions, you find the security guard is the one who's being used to do the walking around, so customer walks in, unataka form gani?
Yes.
Shika hii form, jaza hapa. Is that the job of security?
Maybe to drive the point home. A private security officer manning a hospital, and a private security officer manning Equity Bank or any banking institution. A private security officer taking care of our residents. Those people are supposed to be given different training. You see, because the business at the hospital is about first aid, and some other things related to the health issue. And then the issue of banking. What is in the mind of the private security at the bank? Robbery.
Yep.
Yes.
You see, so training, my sister, is not cast on the stone. It's a continuous
Indeed.
in terms of what you are doing, where are you assigned to work?
Yes.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask another question. After the threats of terrorism in the country, we saw that there was this heightened, when you're entering into a building, there are guards who are checking on and things like that. Would it link to the kind of thing that you're speaking of in terms of on a regular basis knowing what you're looking for? Because in my mind, I always say, okay, now if they were met with one of these risks or one of these threats, would they actually know what it is that was being looked for? Is this along the lines of some of the things that you're saying?
That is what those are the areas I'm concerned. That's why I'm saying some of these managers or leaders, they also miss the point. You have a population of 800,000 across the country. Why can't you change this population into resourceful by just impacting them? Now, you are talking about the external attack in terms of the terrorism. Yes, we have training like counter-terrorism on running. And even you can also go these things through, you can even learn through the online.
Yeah.
You see? Depending on who is doing what and where. Therefore, for me, first issue, we must have a standardized curriculum and we take seriously the issue of training. And we must have our own institution. We should not bring confusion that cards should go to Kikanjo. You are missing a point. I've gone across the globe because I'm also the president of African Private Securities because of the Kenya National, what we did in Kenya. So therefore, I normally compare notes. I do what we call page marking. In America, we have a lot of units of security, and the private security is one of them. In Kenya, somebody might begin talking about these ones are not supposed to be here. We need to bring the police conflict. Oh, they'll take over the jobs of the police. That cannot work. A private security officer will remain a private security officer, and our job is to complement the national security agents. There's no conflict. But my concern in terms of that, I changed the name from the watchman to private security officer. If you can see the act, the Private Security Regulation Act, I really did a lot of job contribution with the other stakeholders. Now, we are trying to bring civilization. Now, when you bring civilization, you need again to address the issue of the salary.
The welfare.
The welfare of the general welfare of the cards. You're going to be talking about a private security officer and you are giving peanut 5,000. And yet, 5,000 cannot sustain anybody in this republic with this life. So are you preparing more thieves through cards or you want to sort the problem?
So let's take a break on that note.
Yes.
It's 27 minutes to 8. Brother Isaac Andabwa is the National General Secretary of the National Private Security Workers Union. And he's also the president of Africa what?
Securities, it's called Uniglobal Properties. Those are unions that come from the securities industry. I'm their president.
You're their president?
Yes.
Sawa.
Yeah.
Showmax.com is where you go and do what?
It's where you go and find all your entertainment on TV and your series, your movies, all of this good stuff. But this month, Showmax in a give. The least amount you spend is 300 shillings for you to get your package. And Showmax is saying this month, whatever you spend will give you an extra month free. Whatever package you do subscribe to, an extra month for free. It's happening this February. Take it from us, Showmax in a give.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Celebrate the month of love with Coldstone Creamery. Enjoy the perfect date spot at Coldstone and get 2 slices of delicious ice cream cake at only 800 shillings. Surprise a loved one with a Coldstone Valentine's cake and treat them to a chocolate cake layered with strawberry ice cream, wrapped in pink frosting and finished with cascading ganache for only 2,500 shillings. Coldstone Creamery, making your Valentine's even sweeter.
Get 2 months of Showmax for the price of 1 in a give. In a give, Real Housewives, rich auntie vibes and that bling. Sama kuwa mocha. Toast to luxury. In a give, single Cassie, girl power. Cheers! And gravity-defying Top Gun victory flyby. Woo! In a give kupindukia. So subscribe now to get 2 months for the price of 1 from only 300 shillings for limited time. In a give Showmax. Sign up at showmax.com.
This is 00 Direct, woman host, music by women and only women guest.
If COVID could mutate and evolve 6 times over the last 2 years, how many versions of yourself have emerged in the last 2 years?
Do not, and you don't have to give anything to get ahead. All you have to do is...
Sunny conditions is what we're looking at in Nairobi this morning, going to highs of 30 and lows of 16. It's 13 and sunny in Nakuru, highs of 29, and we'll see highs of 13. A sunny Nyeri at 12, 15 and sunny in Eldoret, highs of 27, lows of 13, and it's sunny at 25 in Mombasa, highs of 32. Malindi will be sunny through today, currently at 27, going to highs of 31. 20 and partly sunny in Kisumu, highs of 32, and we'll see highs of 32 as well in a sunny Kakamega. It's 20 and partly sunny in Kampala, highs of 30, and we'll see highs of 31 in Dar es Salaam, where it's sunny at 25. 16 and partly sunny in Johannesburg, highs of 23, and we'll see highs of 35 in a mostly clear Lagos at 27. 23 and partly cloudy in Kinshasa, highs of 31 and lows of 23. We're looking out into Beijing, 2 degrees and sunny with highs of 5 and lows of -7.
Spice up your life.
All right, into traffic hour proper is where we are now, and there's been traffic that started quite early in many parts of the city. It doesn't look too terrible on the Thika Superhighway this morning. I think folks, ran a little scared, but we're just looking at traffic just past the Allsops Junction. Beyond that, doesn't seem to be doing too badly. So the Eastern Bypass, that has been completed. That's where we're seeing that that issue has been sorted out. And there's some recarpeting that has happened. So, everybody's happy. Look, coming out of Westlands, a little bit of traffic, then spilling over towards Waiyaki Way, coming off James Gishuru, into the CBDs where you see most of the action. It looks all right on Mombasa Road as you're heading out towards the Nyeri Stadium roundabouts. In parts of Eastlands, looking at Jogo Road, that's okay, coming out towards Landis, and then touching on Kamkunji. No problem here. It looks good. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on Twitter in about half hour. Let's see what it looks like then and keep it moving.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
Continue our conversation with Brother Isaac Ndabwa, the boss of the Kenya National Private Security Workers Union. Ndabwa, you were talking about now the welfare of the 800,000 or so people who work in the private security industry in Kenya.
Yes.
What are the main concerns here?
My main concern in the private security industry is the minimum wage. The minimum wage is what the government orders for payments to protect the lowly paid work in a particular country. Now, I was a bit uncomfortable with the issue of increment of NSSF. Not because the policy is bad, but because the government need to do something fast. You cannot raid the pocket of a starving card, making so many deductions without first doing the rightful thing of implementing first the minimum wage across the board. Something astonishing, what has given me a lot of trouble. In Kenya, we have a few foreign countries, for foreign investors. I mean, the investors, like, I don't want to mention the names, but there are few, around 5.
Who are in your industry?
They are in my industry, and they are the ones who are complying with the government statutory deductions.
So multinationals?
Yes.
Okay.
And out of the 2,000 security companies, the cards are suffering. There is no minimum wage. There is no overtime payment. There is no risk allowance, like nights. You see, those are very serious things that a particular government must listen and address. The minimum wage is a government mechanism to protect a lowly paid worker. Then is there any need for me now to make noise about the Samsung order? Why is the government implementing the NSSF without first implementing the...
What do you mean implementing the minimum wage?
Enforcement. I'm saying
the government has already set the minimum wage. What's it right now?
It's not being enforced by the Samsung government.
So right now it's at 15?
Yeah. No, it's 16,000. As per the last cassette notice of his 1st May, it's supposed to be 16,560, around 15.
570.
Yes, around
16,570.
16,570.
Yes.
So the government has already gazetted. This is the minimum wage.
Last year.
What is the government supposed to do after gazetting?
Enforcement.
How?
It's supposed to make sure every investor in the industry, to protect the workers who are working there, who are engaged, everybody pays that minimum wage. Because it's meant to protect the lowly workers. This is
through the labor officers.
The government, the person who announces this thing is the president. Yes, it's the president. So my problem with the NSSF, why I was concerned until yesterday. You see, you cannot apply law discriminatively. First, take care of the private security officer. Make sure that every employee in the private security is paying that which is rightful.
Okay.
Then including overtime. You see, these guys work. Hakuna mtu anafanya kazi kwa nchi ya Kenya and committed kwa assignment 12 hours kama askari. Sisi wengine tunaweka koti hapa kwa kiti tunatoroka. Tunarudi time nyingine. Askari hawezi toka kwa assignment.
Na hawezi
lala. You see?
But brother.
Yes.
I thought part of the functions of a union were to not only negotiate but to also enforce these contracts that the worker is supposed to have with the employer. We mentioned the health sector. It is the unions, the union that looks after the different cadres of healthcare workers who push. Because if you're talking about the security sector, let me be specific. The government you are asking to enforce is the same government that pays its police officers as poorly as it does. And you actually imagine that they are going to enforce something that is within the ambit of, say, the private sector. Are police officers paid well? Let's start there.
Police are brothers and sisters in the same profession. They are not.
They are paid terribly.
They are poorly paid.
Precisely. Now, if they're paid poorly, okay, now they work for the government. The government has not been able to pay. Let me say what I'm actually thinking. The government does not want to pay them better, okay? So, why would the government then help you, who is the head of a union of private security officers? Why would they help you?
That is a very wonderful question. You know, I have done a lot to the extent of even going to court. To an extent of even addressing the Ministry of Labour and being specific that these companies, I list them. Yes, they're the ones who are not paying. In court of law, the same ministry sends officers to go and inspect the same companies that are paying 9,000. When you find the report of the labor officer, he's saying this company is complying in court. So there's a lot of impunity and corruption in this industry.
Right.
And that one I must speak it openly without a fear. Now, there's a problem. There is a problem again in terms of implementation, enforcement, and people being honest. You see? So, if I can go up to court, I be given orders that employers are supposed to do what? To implement. And the orders are there. Then I serve the employer with the orders. Then you find tomorrow a different story. And I don't have instruments. I don't have instruments of power. My job is to make noise where the shoe pinches, the employee. But now, that was before Fazul came in. But now, we have a regulator now in place. Now, that is squarely his mandate. And I think
the job of the the mandate of the regulator, one of them is to make sure that there's compliance.
Yeah, in fact,
just the minimum compliance with the law.
Yes, in fact, is supposed to approach in this way. One of the criteria for an investor to be cleared to do business, he must comply with the Article 41 of the Constitution, which talks about the workers' rights and the plight, and then the minimum wage, those governance. You see, so we are talking about the government first addressing the issues of minimum wage, then in NSSF comes number 2. I don't want to know about the other sectors, but me, I'm talking about the private security industry, because you cannot keep on rating an employee his pocket and without actually paying the requisite amount in monthly.
So this is why you had an issue with NSSF initially.
Yes, I was even going to court again.
Not all workers in the private security sector are even being paid the minimum wage that they're required to. But now the new regulation says that you shall pay more to NSSF. You were okay with it until yesterday.
I was not
okay with it.
I was going to court. Yes, I was going to court to say no minimum wage, no deduction for the private security industry. But after listening to His Excellency the President yesterday, he is willing to engage the stakeholders, like the union leaders, to address some of the challenges in the respective sector. And the truth of the matter, the idea is noble. Like, for example, if somebody goes to Kakamega, where I come from, I'll not stay in Nairobi permanently. I'm working. Once you work, you must exit the scene. Now, when you go home, you are at 70 years. I don't know how old is my brother here.
I'm 64.
You become a candidate of various medical institutions because of weekly body now is functioning, it's not acting. So when you are home, you are exiting the employment. At least this issue of pension is a wise idea. I support it 100%. But you cannot deduct a starving person to the point of death, so as you keep for him the same money when he retires. So what we need to do, let's first address the concerns, the concerns of the Gazette notice, so that he enjoys the minimum wage. He pays properly over time. And even there are a lot of things, my brother, I don't know, you'll also invite me back. There are issues of even overtime. There are issues of environment where they work. So conducive, so decent, under ILO. So, medical issue about the private security officers. There's nobody who cares. Some of them collapses on their way going to a place of work assignment because of stress and depression. Whatever they are paid cannot take anybody to school, and they're human beings. They are workers. So we need to address the welfare of the workers in this industry, just like any other worker. You see, and respect them, because the role they are playing, the time they are spending on assignment, supersede any other employment in this country or in the world.
All those things that you've raised are issues that need to be addressed.
Yeah.
And you've said there are legitimate concerns that need to be addressed and they need to be highlighted. As recently as Monday this week, Brother Isaac Kandabwa, the National Secretary General of the National Private Security Workers Union, was against the planned implementation of new NSSF rates.
Yes.
Until Tuesday, the 14th of February, when he went to State House, and now he is fully endorsing that move. Have those issues been addressed?
I'm not fully endorsing it. My acceptance to that, after listening to His Excellency the President, I did moderation of myself because there was an opening. He directed the CS for Labor, and he gave us a link person in the name of Nonok to address the workers' issue in that arrangement. Therefore, what I need to do as a leader, I want now to engage the CS for labor. Because I've been doing that, going to court, and nothing happens. So I'll engage the CS of labor as the regulated by His Excellency the President. If she doesn't agree to what is rightly ours in terms of minimum wage, because I'm not supposed to request for minimum wage. Minimum wage is from the government. She's the only one who announced the minimum wage. If she doesn't comply or request, give a circle to every employer in the private security industry to comply with the minimum wage, then I'll still go back to court. Because the ultimate call for me is to stand in for the poor cats who are suffering, who cannot afford even a meal a day, who can't afford even school fees, who can't afford the medical. So I'll be relevant, and I don't want to be relevant. Yes, I can't support something that is going to hurt my people. I cannot accept that.
How is it looking? And let's be honest about this, because who then was given the mandate to then address these issues? Because, I mean, it is clear where you're fighting from. How does it look in terms of what can and will be done? Because there's the issue of enforcement that you spoke of. Those who are employing people and not paying the minimum wage, how much can government do to make sure that happens? Because there are those who are accepting of these positions. You can say minimum wage is 16,000 shillings. Somebody says, well, I'm going to give you 10. Well, you say, okay, I'm going to take the job. So how do you work on a situation like that? And then number two, how is it looking? When we're looking at all of these issues, does it look like something that then can be streamlined, regulated, and sorted out?
I already gave you a solution. I said, we fought very hard. The union fought very hard to have a regulator into place. So you have a CEO who is supposed to regulate not only the employees, he's supposed to regulate the clients, the ones who consume our service, then he regulates the investor, then he regulates an employee. Because you cannot succeed in this minimum wage without first regulating the client, telling the client, I want you to pay this so as to enjoy this service. Are you getting me? And the issue of regulation is also good for the government. Because 800,000 cards or employees in this industry, even they're not paying KRA, they're not even paying the NSSF, they're not even paying NIGF, leave alone the NSSF you're talking about. Somebody just prepare a list of 200 shillings and is paying 75,000. He rushes to the to NSSF and he pays. Whereas he's not paying minimum wage. So we need to look at the whole issue holistically. My sister, you are talking about how can it be done. You see, that is a government order. How is a government order done? The government is supposed to protect its own order, not Andabwa. But when you do, this order cannot be complied with. Why do you issue the same order in the first place? For what? Because an order is supposed to benefit a particular group of individuals. Even the law. Kama kuna sheria ambayo lazima ilinde watu fulani, na hiyo sheria iko na ifanyi, kama hii chapter 6 of katiba ile ambayo tunasema viongozi lazima watu wakwe wana mambo ya criminal record and so forth, na tutumie hiyo sheria. Now we blame Yesu Kristo arudi. So there is something wrong with some of this leadership, me included. We do things opposite. Yes. So it is very simple, the government to say, in this industry, let me have the stakeholders. All of them, call the employers and investors, tell them we cannot continue in this manner. We are doing a lot of damage to the government because billions is being lost through KRA. Number two, the person on the ground, the front line in terms of security that's occurred, is all suffering, exposed to several untold sufferings. Then lastly, we have no option. You must pay that which the government required of. And to give you something else, if you want to know the importance of the private security officer, 2 years ago or 1 year ago, we had this of COVID. COVID, it was an outbreak. You know what the government, the employers did? They gave now the security officers the catches for taking the temperatures at the entrance. and you see, they had not gone any training, you see, in relation to even the same equipment. How do you call it?
The thermosensor.
You see? Now we are being robbed doing some other assignment without even compensation and exposing ourselves at a watch of the same government. So this country is about code for us all, but everyone for himself.
I have to ask.
Yes.
look, organizations, whether it is, those who hire private security,
Yes.
those who are doing the hiring, they know the parameters within which they want private security to come and operate, isn't it?
Yes.
How do they ensure that, number one, the proper training is taken for them? Number two, how do they insist on these things that you're talking about, making sure that the minimum wage is applied, making sure that they have compensation when they're working difficult times, making sure that they have overtime when, they're asked to, and all of this? Those organizations that employ these individuals, whether it is a firm, whether it is a group of individuals, how are they regulated?
Since Kenya attained independent, we are almost at 60 after independent. And I'm telling you, my sister, since independent, we have never had anything to do with the regulations in the private security industry. This is the first time we are having that. And then I'm telling you, the part of the regulations, we have like an employer association called KCPE, led by my friend Okay. There is another one called PCA, led by Mutaba. Yeah, and several others. What I'm saying, if we want to bring civilization here, so as to actually to do what is required of ourselves, why can't we have just an association of employers, like a teacher service commission? Then we deal with the government deals with the one say in terms of employment, because the issue of the clans is there, and the clans are different from one clan to the other one. Like for example, you see the American embassy is a clan. I'm having a CBA with the G4S. I'm having a CBA with the KK. I'm having a CBA with the Wells Fargo, which some of them are doing it better than the minimum wage. Are you getting me? Yes. But I'm telling you, the criminals in this industry, they are Kenyan themselves, who are punishing their own.
So small, some of them are small startups, some of them are actually not small, they are mid-size. Employing many people.
There's nothing like small size. What we need to apply is law. Yes. Are you doing the right thing or you are doing the wrong thing? Because there's no need for you to talk about the mid-size. There is no mid-size officer, private security officer. When you hire an officer, you are hiring a person to give you service. Yes. So we need to be able, from what you are asking me, what we need to do, I just want to request the regulator to put his feet on the ground and save the workers.
And enforce. There's a question that I've got to ask you because it's coming from Akwam, one of our listeners online. He says he was working for a well-known security firm in Nairobi as a guard. He enrolled for a degree course. It came the time for proceeding for industrial attachment. He requested his employer for unpaid academic leave. And the employer said, guards are not entitled to academic leave. You have two choices. You either work or you stop working and go for attachment. So he had to quit that employment and go for attachment. He's asking, surely, is there anything that...
You should be given my contact to reach me, because I don't think if that is can be allowed, because you have what you call the 5 set of Employment Act, and the companies like G4S, like KK, they're doing good. Even the paternity leave, it's also there through our CBS. If your wife goes for delivery for 4 months, you are yourself again, you are given 14 days and it's being done. But I'm telling you, the problem, the elephant is with the indigenous employers. Those are the people we deal with. And we don't care whether you are a small farm or whatever. What he must do or should do, he must obey and respect the law to save the workers.
Brother, you mentioned something about the Private Security Training Academy.
Yes.
Isn't there one that already exists? And if it does, in what form does it exist?
Okay. The trainings that we have, they are aligned to the companies. Like KK has got one in Ngong there. G4S have others, individual trainings. But you see what I'm talking about?
But are those trainings accredited by NITA?
NITA.
Yes,
NITA.
the National Training Authority.
I'm not aware.
Because if they're not accredited, then they're not standardized.
I'm not aware.
Yes.
But to me, my concern is different. But you see, I'm not talking about the institution per se. Me, I'm talking about the curricula.
That has a curriculum.
What is relevant for us, and which should be a reference point and a standard. And again, you see, when you have a center for training academy, you will also have what you call a export labor in that manner. Because what the challenge the government is having is actually again having its people employed. So if we have a very professional training academy, we will also expect labor.
That's very true.
Yes, and the government will earn money.
Like you said,
yes,
it's a very, very interesting conversation that we've had this morning, and we'd like to invite you again. So
Thank you.
come back.
Thank you, my brother.
The time is up. It's coming up to 8 o'clock. Brother Isaac Andabwa is the National General Secretary of the Kenya National Private Security Workers Union. He's been our guest, highlighting the issues of the private security and the private security sector and what it needs to see. Keep it here for more conversations. Good morning. It's 8 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newsroom. Dennis Aseto. The Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Forestry has introduced a new approach in the race to attain 15 billion trees by 2032. The innovative approach, dubbed Adopt an Ecosystem, will see stakeholders from various sectors support the scale-up of the government's ambitious 30% forest cover in 10 years plan. Speaking during a meeting with the new Worldwide Fund for Nature International Director General Kristen Schuit, Cabinet Secretary Soipan Tuya noted that the government has mapped out the entire country and know how much land is available, and with the biggest opportunity lying in the arid and semi-arid lands because of the spaces available. She also highlighted that tree growing has also become an economic venture for communities, youth and farmers, among others. The government will prioritize the transformation of the agricultural sector as a way of accelerating implementation of the bottom-up economic model. Agriculture and Livestock Development Cabinet Secretary Mithika Linturi said this during the ongoing 46th session of the International Fund for Agricultural Development Governing Council that is meeting in Rome, Italy. The Cabinet Secretary said the transformation and rapid growth of Kenya's agricultural sector remains a central part to ensuring the sector consistently contributes towards the 10% annual GDP growth as envisioned in Kenya's Vision 2030. And Machakos Governor Wavinya Ndeti has demanded that opposition leader Raila Odinga backs Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka for the 2027 presidency, or else he forgets the support of the Akamba community. Speaking during a public participation exercise in Kathiani town, the Machakos governor said the Akamba community was tired of offering political support to Raila without reciprocation. Ovinya pointed out that it was unfortunate that the Kamba community has been mocked for too long despite its numerical supremacy and its contribution to national politics. Ovinya's declaration came barely a few weeks after Raila, who has been actively spearheading anti-government rallies, insisted he will not retire from politics. Her sentiments were echoed by her deputy Francis Mwangangi, who urged the governor to ignore those critiquing her working relationship with President William Ruto's administration. Now, former Mumias Sugar Company workers are demanding payment of their salary arrears by Uganda-based Sarai Group. Led by Mumias Sugar Branch Workers Secretary Vitalis Magoha, the former workers said they were promised to be paid once the factory starts operating. Magoha said at the moment company plants are rotting and called on President William Ruto to intervene. The workers further said Sarai Group does not care about workers who are currently working in the factory, claiming their payments are low, and some of them have died in line of duty due to poor working condition. The World Meteorological Organization has warned that climate change continues to strike Africa with extreme weather events. The WMO Secretary General Professor Peteri Talas in a statement says the devastating drought in the Greater Horn of Africa, including parts of Kenya, Ethiopia, Sudan and Somalia, is a manifestation of the impacts of climate change. Talas spoke during the conference of heads of national meteorological and hydrological in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, says the failure of 5 rainfall seasons has had devastating effects of crops, and these could impact the harvests. Now, the officers drawn from the Border Patrol Unit of Administration police died and one was seriously injured after their vehicle they were travelling in was struck by an improvised explosive device at the Dab area on the Garissa-Dadaab highway. The 4 officers on board were taking the vehicle to Garissa for a mechanical checkup when the attack happened. The injured officer was admitted at the Garissa County Referral Hospital before being airlifted to Nairobi for specialized treatment. Police suspected that Al-Shabaab militants were responsible for the attack. And local leaders and residents of Embu and Kirinyaga counties held a peace meeting in an attempt to foster unity following the recent killing of 2 brothers. Joseph Ndungu and Kennedy Gitao were beaten and their bodies lynched at the Embu-Kirinyaga border, sparking outrage. The 2 brothers are said to have been responding to a distress call when they were attacked by a group of armed men and killed. The 2 are said to have left their homes at around 2 a.m. that fateful day after receiving a call from their cousins who had been attacked by a group of armed men. The killings, which occurred at the Embu and Kirinyaga counties, sparked outrage and condemnation among the neighbors' communities. Reports now indicate that the Moya Sub-County Police Commander Emmanuel Kiplagat has been transferred and replaced by Crispinas Ogutu. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Okay, it's a few minutes after 8 o'clock and traffic continues to do the thing this morning. We're in traffic hour already and we're seeing movement heavy coming off of Langata Road. And it's well at that junction coming in from, what's the name of that road where the Multimedia University is? That road. Eric
it is
knows where
called Bagath. Magadi Road.
Magadi Road, thank you very much. Magadi Road, some traffic this morning. Not quite sure what's causing that. We thought it was going to be terrible on the Thika Superhighway this morning, but actually not so much. On the junction coming in from Outer Ring, we have some traffic. It is heavy though. And touching then on into the city. We're looking at it heavy also coming off Limuru Road, Gigiri here and there a little bit. Traffic is also doing the thing, but it's not too bad today. Manageable levels is what we're looking at right now. Let's take a look at what it looks like in about half hour, and then we'll know how to deal, isn't it? All right, SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Let's keep things moving whichever way.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not
7
down.
after 8. Welcome to the third hour of the Situation Room. So we've been talking about the Vipingo development in Vipingo, Kilifi County by Centum Real Estate for a number of weeks now. And there are several things we've said. Number 1.
There's power.
Number 2.
There's water.
Number 3.
Fantastic security.
Number 4.
It's close to the road.
Number 5.
It's fantastic. 3-bedroom, 2-bedroom. You just pay a deposit and then you pay in installments. It's yours.
Bas.
What again?
That's it. There's an airport, airstrip right there.
Everything.
Very many things.
Absolutely.
Already, there are some 500 units that have been built and have been handed over to their owners. So you're not buying into a new thing. You're buying into a neighborhood that's already building and growing. It's a community that's already living there. And it's beautiful. You can actually go and see for yourself if you just speak to Vipingo Development by calling them on 0740 400 215. Call 0740 400 215. They will pick your call. If they don't, let us know. We'll beat them. Or you can send a message to them text the word Vipingo to 22365. That's Vipingo to 22365. They'll get back in touch with you. They will send you a brochure of all the houses. They'll give you a house plan. They'll give you the plan of all the apartments that they have, whether you're starting with the studio, the 1-bedroom, the 2-bedroom, the 3-bedroom. They can even give you an entire plan of the entire 3,000 or so acres of the former Rea Vipingo land that Centum Real Estate bought and is now developing and as Vipingo Development. Sawa. So text the word Vipingo to 22365. Let's now talk about the insecurity that we've been talking about in the North Rift. So the government said we're going to do something. The CS for the Interior said we're going to do something. The CS for the Interior has gone there and said we are actually going to do something. The president has said, Nasio tafadhali, we shall do something. Now the president has said, let's deploy the military. The military is being deployed. We want to have that conversation. Joining us in the studio is a member of parliament for Turkana West, the Honorable Daniel Nanok, and a security expert, Dominic Wabala. Let's welcome them by giving them the day's Proverbs, CT.
Yes, our Proverbs for this week come from the country of Zambia.
Mm-hmm.
He who paddles 2 canoes sinks.
He who paddles 2 canoes
Yes.
sinks.
Yes.
Hivyo tu.
As simple as that.
Mheshimiwa Nanok, good morning.
Morning to you, Latish.
Welcome to the big conversation this week.
Thank you.
That proverb, does it make any sense? He who paddles 2 canoes sinks.
It's also like the case of the hyena that gets to a
fork,
an intersection,
doesn't know which side to pick and decides that he goes both of them, and then he will just split itself there. So something similar to that.
Something similar.
Yes.
Safi. Dominic Wabala, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Welcome to the situation.
Thank you.
Let's start with the proverb. What's your interpretation of it?
Well, it's, for me, it looks, interprets to you can't serve 2 masters at the same time.
You cannot serve 2 masters.
2 masters at the same time.
Yeah. Dominic, you are a security expert. What does that mean?
I think having some knowledge of security issues and trying to unravel what is troubling in matters of security, assuming that you have a solution to what is going on. Yeah, that is my understanding.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not participating in insecurity.
Not participating in insecurity, of course, not participating in insecurity, but understanding why the term insecurity is being used, and it's a very wide subject that you can't pinpoint. Yeah,
Karibu sana.
You know, there are those who actually major and qualify to the point of having doctoral qualifications in security services, meaning they've studied it academically, so they understand it. And then there are those who we refer to, we reference them as people in the security sector. And the reference, the gentleman who was here before you, was somebody who is a Secretary General of the private security organizations of this union of this country. People in the police service, same people in the armed forces, GSU, all these. Now, so I find this puzzling. Whenever you ask and you say somebody is a security expert, I'm actually building up on what Eric asked. So what is it that one does in order to become an analyst, a consultant, an expert in security matters?
When you dedicate your life and time to issue security, analyzing, understanding, and trying to understand the intricacies of security and insecurity. I have, for the last 25 years, been a journalist covering matters security in the region, in Kenya, Uganda, Somali. That is what I've been doing. I believe I've also studied quite some in issues security by virtue of the job that I've been doing.
So when you say cover, does it mean that you've been to these war-torn areas? You've actually lived among people who are in conflict with others, so that you could argue you have a first-hand experience in what it is that happens?
Yes, I have. I have lived in areas that have been afflicted. I have covered war. I have interacted with the victims of war. That is my understanding.
You are an expert. Yes.
Ndio?
No. That now we can proceed.
Vetting happened.
Oh, it did.
Successfully vetted.
No, we can now continue.
If you look at what was going on yesterday and the day before that, Mheshimiwa, when we saw that the Gazette notice then had been released in terms of KDF being released to the North Rift. There was a lot of hullabaloo thereafter in terms of what Parliament had or had not done to allow this to happen. That notwithstanding, we've also seen that there are boots on the ground already. As of last evening, military jets had yesterday afternoon started hovering over parts of the troubled northern Rift Valley, signalling the arrival of KDF troops. The soldiers had been assigned to execute what has been described as a painful but decisive operation to rid the region of criminals behind the banditry menace. So, that presence is there. It seems to be the first thing of this nature that has happened when it comes to the insecurity issue in the North Rift. In your opinion, is this the way to go?
Thank you. First and foremost, I saw the Gazette notice like every other Kenyan. And it is supposed to deal with the situation in the North or the North Rift. This is not the first time that it will happen in the North. The North has lived through these operations. Not one, not two, not three. At least for this government, this is the first one. But they have been there. And we've had insecurity recurring. I think it is a good idea. Maybe on my part as a representative of the people, and listening to Dominic say he's an expert, he has studied insecurity and has at least been to those places. I was born, brought up, I have lived in insecurity. So between myself and Dominic, if you are to ask who is the expert in terms of knowing, I've lived in security. I used to stay awake throughout the night because there were lacking raiders around the vicinity. It's that difficult. In this particular case, KDF deployment may be the goodwill of the government of the day to get rid of this problem, because they have the president himself, none other than the president himself, pronounced himself to this issue of insecurity and banditry in northern Kenya. The minister was in my sub-county or constituency early this month, made some pronouncements, and it's continuing. I hope this time round the strategy will be different. I hope this time round it is not the wanton rounding up of people in settlements. Those who are responsible for banditry, you will not see them today. They were given amnesty for 3 days to return their firearms. I wonder if any gun has been returned.
Who do you think is responsible?
For what?
For the banditry. You're saying those responsible, we are not going to see them?
No, of course, these are our people. Okay? These are people who have lived in this life. There are criminal elements like any other place which can have criminals. But these ones have decided to use the gun to steal livestock, okay? But this is a whole trade. The one who goes to raid, the one who buys the raided animals, yeah? As Natembea put it, it's a whole chain. So you're only dealing with one, the bandit. But how will you know that this is a bandit? I am sure these guys have already dissipated themselves into the community.
So the community knows them?
Assuming, yes, some of them definitely will be known. But the way they will be flashed out, maybe that is where we need intelligence.
Do you think the community is willing to give them up?
It all depends on the approach. Yeah? I don't think, like in my county, I don't think the Turkanas will be ready to harbor these people. They have suffered for so long.
But
they should be able to give them up.
Let's talk practically, Mheshimiwa Nanok. The people of Turkana West, right?
Yes.
Have been victims of these attacks.
Yes.
Of course, they have not been attacked by their own neighbors. Not the people within the community.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's people from outside the community.
True.
The people from neighboring communities have probably been attacked by people from your community. So the people from your community are not victims of their own people.
No, in my particular constituency, no.
They are victims from the other side.
From across the country, from South Sudan.
So the
from
question
Uganda.
I'm asking is, would the people in your community who know these guys are the ones who go and raid on the other side, would they give them up and say, we know these people, they are involved in, it's only that they don't steal our cattle, but we know they're involved in.
See, Latif, I don't know what I'm getting you. Whether you want me to say that my people can say those others or they themselves, the Turkana saying on the Turkanas.
Yes.
I mean, they live together. If you are a raider, they will know. They will definitely know.
Will they give them up?
How many times they have? There are people who have been caught. There are people who have been reported. Yeah, they have. They have done that. What happens after that is what I cannot know. Yeah.
Dominic, you've covered this in several ways. You've worked at the Standard Group and you've covered insecurity. You've covered insecurity in some of these constituencies and counties. When you see this deployment of police officers, because you've seen it before, then now there's deployment of the military in the area. Do you see it actually flashing out the real culprits?
I don't think it will, because like Mheshimiwa says, the culprits have already moved. I mean, the misfortune is that we announce the deployment and then deploy. So by the time the boots hit the ground, the culprits have already moved. But even as we say that, for a long time, and it has been happening, we saw the killing of police. We've seen the killing of security officers by culprits from both sides, whether it is Turkana, Pokot, or Samburu, wherever it is. We have seen them. We have seen it happening. So the challenge actually is when the community looks at security forces as the enemy instead of looking at the people or the raiders or the cattle rustlers as the enemy. That is where the challenge comes in, because most of the time when boots are sent on the ground, then there's hue and cry, and then we'll hear there was rape, there was theft, there was looting, and all that by security agencies who are supposed to provide security to the community. That is the challenge that we'll face and will continue facing. It is only until we address the issues, as a country, we address the issues of what is really happening, which is lack of resources. As in, most of the time, it is one group, one community going in search of pasture and water and all that. Then there is a conflict, either for the scarcity over the scarcity of those resources, or when one sees the other's livestock as enticing and gets them. That is the challenge that we'll continue facing.
I have to ask this question. We talk of security and our mind immediately goes to disciplined forces, whether they're the domestic variety that we refer to as the police or the army. So I have to ask, when you look at security, when you look at now the converse, which is insecurity, you grew up in it, you have studied it, you have given it a 360 from an academic perspective, and then but his is a lived experience. What then would you say really forms insecurity, or what would you consider security? Is it an abundance of armed personnel? Is it an abundance of the army? What would constitute security? Because we've had this before. And I'm asking this because we've had insecurity in very many parts of this country. There have been flashes of it. We had this insecurity we're talking about. The northern part of this country had it in abundance. That was before we invented the terrorist groups. The problems were there. The problems we now have to do with terrorist groups. But what we had previously, there's hardly any of it. So you have to ask the question. Our neighbors across Uganda has had this problem for the longest time. Among the Karamojong, that problem isn't quite there now. What I said, it isn't quite there. It isn't what it was before. Mm-hmm. And the groups there were seriously armed. So I'm asking the question, so this security we keep talking about, what are we talking about really?
I think we as a people have a problem. And there was a not so enticing statement made by the former president Uhuru Kenyatta when he said security begins with you, when you have to start doing that. Why you are saying, and I concur with you that in Uganda there used to be that problem, but it has reduced significantly.
Yes,
and it's because Ugandans have come up with. Have always had what you call a community policing in the name of Nyumba Kumi. And in that, you need to know your neighbor and your surroundings. You must be aware of your surroundings, so that when you see something that is out of the norm, you are supposed to report to the LC, the local leadership in Uganda. You are supposed to report. And if somebody comes to, assuming it's my home. By the way, I come from Busia, so I've also lived partly in that insecurity. So that in the event that you see somebody who is foreign, it is your duty as a citizen, as a member of the community, to find out, hey, by the way, who are you, and who have you come to visit? What is your business in our area,
in our neighborhood?
Yeah, such that even the local leadership knows that hey, Dominic has come to this place, and he is a visitor to Latif, and he is going to stay around for this number of time, this number of days. Yeah, and just that to make the community aware of any strange happenings that happen. But we have, that is the challenge that we have as Kenyans. We are not keen on our environment.
But is that really it? Because let me perhaps join a question to it. Do the people in these far-flung areas actually consider themselves to be Kenyans, like other Kenyans, or do they think that Kenya is the other part of Kenya, which is not where they live?
What do you mean?
What I mean is that I've been to parts of this country where people ask you about Kenya, and I'm in Kenya.
Well, I think you don't need to stretch that. That is a figurative statement,
which is supposed to mean
meaning that there is imbalance.
Yes.
Okay, we feel not taken care of like the others. That is basically what it means. But you can't say that is a belief that they are not in Kenya. I am a Kenyan.
No. But is that not at the heart? If we have a situation that seems to grow and never comes to an end, and people suffer for years on end, they have every reason to believe that because they also know that other parts of the country don't have the problems they
Can I
have.
ask that question differently?
Yes.
Mheshimiwa? If we saw such, movement or such a security situation, if we saw it in Nairobi, for example, or if we saw it in Nakuru, for example, in your opinion, do you think that by now something would have been done about it?
Nairobi. A movement in Nairobi, in Kisumu, in Eldoret.
Yes.
Yeah.
A cattle raid.
Yes.
Let's call it a gang.
Let's call it something else. Let's
A
call it a
gang.
gang.
Yeah.
Gang
Yes, of
wars,
course.
for
There's a
example.
militia that is heavily
Yeah, there are
armed.
gangs in this city and there. And how are they handled? They are criminals. And the security forces have their ways of dealing with those gangs.
Yes.
They collect intelligence, they will follow up individuals and until they nab them.
Yep.
Yeah?
Yep.
But in the case of the bandits and the cattle rustlers, I don't think the security officers follow them in that manner. And so that is different.
Okay.
And it could be the difference that needs to be brought on. Yeah? And I want to say, Muga, it is the guns. The presence of the guns in the north is insecurity in their own right. If there was a way of eliminating those guns from the north, you will not need to be sending the army.
Okay.
You will not need to be sending the police. I mean, or the uniformed officers who end up becoming targets, actually. They become part of, actually, the conflict. Because when they are shot at, like look at the officers that were killed on the highway in KWS camp in Turkana South. What was their mistake? Just that they
Their
were
presence.
on duty. Yeah? To secure the people, their livestock, or their properties. And there they were. And there were those who were targeting these animals that were being secured. So there are really collateral damage in this kind of a game. In Nairobi here, when the police are following up, for instance, say Daniel, who is a criminal, whose intelligence is being sought for, the other Kenyans are busy doing their normal day-to-day businesses. But in this particular case, when now these criminals are going to be followed, do you know there will be no peace?
Sure.
So it'll be
in the region. Everyone will be running. I just got some clip of some fellows who are responding to the curfew in Kainuk, in West Pokot, Sigor. And people are literally running in the town to get to their homes.
To get home before the curfew begins.
Before the curfew time.
So it's disrupting
It is very disruptive,
people's
by the
lives
way,
and
now.
livelihoods.
But that is where we've reached.
Let's take
If
a
that
break.
is what will bring us back to our senses, maybe that is what the president said about being a painful decision.
Let's take a break. 28 minutes to 9. The Honorable Daniel Nanok, Member of Parliament for Turkana West constituency. And Dominic Kwabala, he is a security expert. He's a journalist who's covered insecurity incidences in the country for many years and outside the country as well. So he has interacted with matters of security for a long time. They're here with us this morning because you're talking about the deployment of KDF and extra security personnel to banditry-prone regions of the North Rift. Showmax is telling you that this is the month of love and therefore they are also giving.
Indeed. What's your Showmax subscription? How much do you spend? Showmax says whatever you spend, they'll give you an extra month free. All your favorite programming, you can have it for an extra month without spending an extra penny. For as little as 300 shillings a month, you have all your favorite entertainment on TV. And Showmax in a give this month because it'll give you an extra month for free.
Time for a break. We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Celebrate the month of love with Coldstone Creamery. Enjoy the perfect date spot at Coldstone and get 2 slices of delicious ice cream cake at only 800 shillings. Surprise a loved one with a Coldstone Valentine's cake and treat them to a chocolate cake layered with strawberry ice cream, wrapped in pink frosting and finished with cascading ganache for only 2,500 shillings. Coldstone Creamery, making your Valentine's even sweeter.
Get 2 months of Showmax for the price of 1 in a give. In a give, Real Housewives, rich auntie vibes, and that bling. Sama kuwa mocha. Toast to luxury. In a give, single Cassie, girl power. Cheers! And gravity-defying Top Gun victory flyby.
Haven't had fun yet?
Woo! In a give kupindukia. So subscribe now to get 2 months for the price of 1 from only 300 shillings for limited time. In a give Showmax. Sign up at showmax.com.
I have a brother. He was a pilot. He was laid off. He came to a policeman. He messed up.
He went from a pilot to a policeman.
Exactly.
He stole a jet.
Yeah.
In fact, you should be lucky he was not court-martialed.
The Spice Drive. Big hair and the biggest hits from the best decade.
Indeed, it's all about hashtag Spice Drive, hashtag Quatch, KWACH, 3 to 7 in the PM.
The Spice Drive, only on 94.
Nairobi will see highs of 30 and lows of 16. 16 and sunny conditions through Nakuru, going to highs of 29. 29 will be the high also in a sunny Nyeri at 14, and it's 18 and sunny in Eldoret, going to highs of 27. 27 and sunny in Mombasa, highs of 32, and we'll see highs of 31. In a partly sunny Malindi at 28. It's 22 and sunny in Kisumu, highs of 32. 32 will also be the high in a sunny Kakamega at 22. 21 and sunny conditions in Kampala, going to highs of 30, and we'll see highs of 31 in a sunny Dar es Salaam at 26. It's 17 and sunny in Johannesburg, highs of 23, and Lagos temperatures will go to highs of 35. Today it's already 26 and clear. 23 and mostly cloudy in Kinshasa, highs of 31 and lows of 23.
Welcome to Spice FM, the best exclusive radio station bringing you the best mix of the best music ever.
Okay, still in traffic hour. We're looking at some action happening in most parts of the city today. Doesn't look too bad coming off Mombasa Road, but it's crazy off of Langata Road and then going towards Raila Odinga Way. And we're looking at Uhuru Highway past the Nyeri Stadium roundabout. Really busy. Lots of roads feeding into that from Gong Road, coming off on this side from Landis Road, which is bumper to bumper, through and through to Kamkunji. At the roundabout coming in from Muranga Road into the CBD directly, that's also quite busy as well. Ring Road Westlands, Wayaki Way, James Gishuru and beyond, busy. We're looking at the Thika Superhighway, which is now stretched beyond the Allsops Junction, and also onto Limuru Road, in from Ruaka, in from Gigiri and the United Nations Avenue. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Talk to us there. Let's keep things moving this morning.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
All right, the
Nairobi.
conversation continues. Daniel Nanok, MP Turkana West, Dominic Wabala, journalist and security expert. Let's talk about the procedure for a bit. I mean, it was a big issue yesterday on how this has unfolded. So the government decides we need to beef up security and security personnel in the area, and they've sent police and various formations of the police, the GSU, the anti-stock theft, the rapid results initiative, what are they called, rapid deployment unit, right? Regular police sent there, still nothing. And then they decide, let's call in the big guns, the military, the KDF is going to be deployed there. Gazette notice says, in accordance with the Constitution and the KDF Act, I, the CS for Defense, Eden Duale, I am announcing that the military shall be deployed from the 15th. And questions start emerging. Wait a minute. Can you deploy the military without, first of all, seeking the authority of Parliament? And then there's a clarification that comes in from the CS for Interior. You know, this one is a police-led operation. That one does not really require Parliament. If it was a military-led operation, that one would require Parliament. Dominic.
My take is that I believe that is just an excuse that we are picking up to criticize what has been done by the government. I think it comes from the leaders of that area. And I think, without fear of favor, I'll say that leaders from that area, from the North Rift, are to blame for all that is happening. That they seem to be in cahoots with the people who are causing mayhem in that area.
Who's they?
Pardon, the leaders.
Okay.
Leaders, now this one is inclusive. Church leaders, community leaders, politicians.
Yes,
youth
they are.
leaders, women group leaders.
They are. Because they are the leaders of this area. I believe they know who is doing what. We have had cases like in 2018 where an MCA and an MP were implicated in buying and arming of a particular group of people, and they were seized by the arms were seized by the government. We have seen several leaders from Turkana, from Pokot, being arrested and charged in court for banditry. And whenever there's deployment, there's always this hue and cry, whether it is the police, whether it is the army. We have always had that.
So, Dominic, what you're saying is this is all noise.
It is all noise.
It should not matter the procedure used as long as the issue is being addressed.
The duty of the government, like we say, is the protection of life and property.
Okay.
And in political science, governance is the use of or threat of use of coercion. That is what governance is. I mean,
does the
government
have a responsibility to follow procedure, obey the rule of law?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Okay.
Absolutely does. It's the reason that we have the procedures laid down, that this is what they are supposed to do. It is that is something that they are supposed to do. In this case, I think the procedure they took was to issue the Gazette notice. That is as far as it went. But the Parliament was resuming when
yesterday
itself. Was that done yesterday?
That's a question. Was the gazettement after or before?
But like I say, those are just excuses that we are doing.
Dominic, I hear you saying two things here. On one hand, you're saying people who are complaining that the government hasn't, followed procedure by then, saying KDF military forces will go into the north. They're just noise, because this thing needs to be rounded up. At the same time, you're saying they know who these people are. Wouldn't it be then, procedurally then, for government to say, if you know and I know, and everybody else knows, then government surely must know. Why are they not turning out that tap? That would be, to me, what procedure you ought to follow. Because you also being in security, you know that the business of conflict is not cheap. You know that the weapons that we are seeing here, that the CS Kindiki has said, please, we're giving you 48 hours, 72 hours amnesty to give up. The cheapest of those weapons is 40,000 shillings per piece. The most expensive going well above 200,000 shillings. It is difficult to imagine that the people who are looking for food, who come to Mheshimiwa's door looking for food, are affording rifles, are affording this ammunition. Wouldn't it then be the procedural thing to do to shut off those taps if everybody knows who these people are?
This is very interesting. We have, like Mheshimiwa says, we have the area is straddled by Ethiopia, is straddled by Uganda and South Sudan. Areas that have had conflict. There is no control of movement of weapons. It is near impossible to think that you will shut as a tap that will just shut the flow of weapons. It's not practical.
The people who fund conflict have not funded conflict because they didn't have anything to do. They fund conflict because of its commercial viability for them.
Thank you.
And that is what I am saying. If we are all saying we know, then everybody knows. And that for me ought to be the next pot of call. If everybody knows, why then do you think it's not in the interest to then start to look for avenues to shut that off? I'm not saying go and turn it off, but there are procedures that you can follow to make sure that it's done. We know that there have been conflicts in the war that have been fueled by individuals. We know this. So why is it so difficult in this case to get it done? And for me, it sounds as though we could be saying that it's not just the local leadership who is aware of what is going on, but that it goes up much higher.
There's...
Mheshimiwa seems to have something he wants to say.
No, it's okay. Let Dominic finish his mind trail.
In security, there are things you can say, and there are things you can't say. Action must be taken based on available evidence. I'm not in governance, so I don't know why. What I know is not being acted on. What we know as a people is not being acted on. But we have seen several times when politicians, when MPs have been charged in court, arrested and charged in court for particular over incidents of banditry. I mean, all of us have seen that. Why that action has not been followed up to the end?
I want to take us back. Okay. And I want to ask the question: what sort of ecosystem do you think enables what we are talking about to be as endemic as it is? What is it that makes banditry a growth industry? What is it that makes it thrive?
This thing that we're discussing is a criminal enterprise.
It is a criminal enterprise.
What it has taken to thrive is state protection. I've answered your question.
Thank you.
Mheshimiwa.
State protection. That I don't know. Maybe if you have information.
Or lack of political will to deal with
it. But that's what it is. That lack of political, what is that?
It's state protection. According to Eric.
What kind of will do the police need to have to collect information, intelligence for that matter, about Daniel, who is involved in this criminal enterprise?
Not much.
What goodwill does he need to have?
Not much.
No.
Actually, I can answer your question and tell you this. When we brought in the 2010 Constitution, there is something we brought in with it called public participation. It's a really broad term, but it's a very nice one. So I will ask you the question, and I would ask of the leaders who come from those regions. How often are you consulted when the government machinery and enterprise go about discussing things about your area? How often are you consulted?
No, unless I take myself there.
Precisely. Okay. So how are they talking?
Unless my people have asked me questions which force me to engage.
So how then do you talk about planning an operation in an area when the people who grew up, who represent these people, are not integral to it? What are the chances of your success?
This is what I'd actually wanted to chip in. Yes, the order was put out, and I hear you asking the question as to whether it was legally done according to the Constitution and all that. And I want to concur with Dominic in what he has observed. Let us not use the legal excuse to hold back saving of lives, okay, in these war-torn areas. Let me say it's a war actually that is going on because lives are getting lost.
Yep.
And it is the duty of government to secure lives, to secure property of Kenyans and anybody who lives in this country. So in terms of government reacting, this just didn't happen. It has been ongoing. Maybe I would say, I'm not talking for government here, but I would imagine they have been following the happenings and it got to that point where they must act. And so they have acted. Maybe the question, Latif and team, that we should be answering here is whether we will succeed.
Right.
in this operation this time round. I have told you, with the presence of guns in the northern Kenya, and anywhere, even in Nairobi here, there are guns. Yeah? But the way the policing is done for these criminals who carry guns in Nairobi seems to thwart them and thwart their efforts.
Yeah.
But in the north, I don't think that is being followed. I don't think the criminals are actually being identified. You keep on referring to leadership being the cause of all this. They are the ones, by the way, I'm not the only one who can afford to buy a gun in Turkana.
No.
And I don't own a gun, personally. The issue of this banditry being a lifeline, a business, a trade with its chain. Yeah? So maybe that is what Odu you are saying. Close the tap. And you can't. You can't close, because for as long as there is someone wanting to take from another person because they are not satisfied with what they have, you will always have these problems. So government has to be alert. Muga, you've said public participation. Am I involved? Yes, I should. Kenyans should. But there is this statement I just said. We were all elected the other day. Okay? But there is someone amongst the elected leaders who can consume confidential security information and another one can't.
Yep.
In the sub-county security committee, I don't sit in that committee. But they sit to organize security of the sub-county.
And yet you are the elected leader of
I am the
these
elected
people.
leader. I would expect, for God's sake, to be consulted. Because I represent the people, the voice of the people.
I wouldn't say consulted. You should
Okay?
be an integral part of it.
Of that security arrangement. But there is the fear that maybe I'm the one funding.
Okay.
But he can also be the chairman of the sub-security committee that could be funding.
It's possible. So then
Because
is
it
it
is.
safe to say then that if, just like what you're alluding to now, because let's look at it. If there was a genuine desire, the goodwill that Dominic spoke of, if there truly was a genuine desire, backed up by action, proper action, to have this situation sorted out, we would have seen it. We would have seen it. Look at what they called Operation Commercial Uhalifu in the North Rifts. It was led by Commissioner of Police Joseph Limo. They recovered rifles, they recovered ammunition, stolen livestock, and they led to the arrest of perhaps the individual that you were speaking of, notorious highway robber who has for long been linked to the banditry attacks in Lorogon in Turkana County. Okay? The attacks resumed last month after that one was arrested. So, come on, it wasn't him only, isn't it? Then Major General David Tarus, he pledged to help security agencies find a lasting solution to the perennial banditry challenges experienced in the area. Last weekend, it flared up again. So this is the thing. Are we hearing declarations of things and not then declaration of intent?
This situation of banditry that we speak of, it's unique, it's specific, and it's in certain areas. When we had independence, the period there immediately thereafter, there was a unit that was based in Gilgil that was set up specifically to deal with this matter. Specifically.
Yes, that's true.
It's still there.
And to be a member, yes, it is there, of course. Gilgil hasn't gone anywhere. And to be able to be part of this particular unit, you needed to come from certain areas. Because they required people who had living knowledge of that sort of terrain, the culture and the ways of people. Now you're talking about will. If this problem existed then, we knew about it. Should this unit not have been strengthened to the point where they are the ones who are deployed when you have this problem? Because it's a special problem, it requires a special unit.
Now, Muga, let me improve your argument.
Please
in
improve.
terms of the that special police unit.
Give it turbo. Yes.
We have gone ahead as the leaders from the North Rift and requested government to employ or recruit what we call the National Police Reservists. And these National Police Reservists are purely locals. They live the life, they know the people, What I think now needs to be done, even as us2 is already there and it's established, let the NPRs deal with the question of banditry in their areas, because they are sons of the
They are
soil.
locals.
They are locals. They know the terrain. They are herders. Okay? And let them be taken through all the legal requirements that will make them answerable for their actions, so that they don't use the rifles that government gives them to go and raid or cause mayhem. Okay? That is what we need to do for the northern Kenya. These officers who are in the camps, police camps, any of these units, they are in one particular place. The bandits are all over. Yeah? They can walk 20 kilometers, 30 kilometers in a day. These bandits go and strike in point A, and within a day, they are 40 kilometers away from the point of action. So those who know them are better placed. So for me, one improvement, and we've had these NPRs, they are being recruited. If they can be trained, they can be given the force orders, so that they now conduct their business like any other police unit. And they don't get transferred, and they live amongst the community. Then let them now be the ones to give all the information that you need about the raiders, who is involved in gun running. They will, because they live amongst the people. That would be something. This operation, as I see it, what I read, if it is correct, is a 30-day operation. In 1 month, all that the military, the police that have been deployed will presumably be over legally. But would it have resolved this problem that has been with us for all the years? You need to live there. You need to be part of the life there to make this difference.
You need to cut it off at the head.
Yes, that is true.
Who is running this racket? It is not those things that used to happen in the 50s or 60s where you'd say, I mean, it's about, rite of passage and all, where youth are stealing.
This one isn't that.
Or even just small band of criminals who are coming and stealing cattle and going to sell and looking for a market to sell, because it's difficult to actually even find a market. You go into a market and you have 100 cows, and the local community will not ask you, hey, but these cows do not look like they belong here. You'll be found out. There's somebody who's running this thing, and that's why I talk about state protection.
I talked about leadership. You are talking about state protection and all that.
Unsanctioned state protection.
And look at it this way.
Deep state.
How does somebody take 200 head of cattle stolen from one community and disappears? It is not possible. One, that place is that place is dry. So 200 head of cattle will raises a lot of dust.
Yes.
So how can they disappear
just like
that?
Vanish.
It's not possible. They are ending up like the Tanzania governor was saying, they're ending up on our plates in Mombasa, in Nairobi, and everywhere. It's a business for people. And it is these people that are supposed to be, because they're the ones who are financing the arming of the bandits.
Yes.
Now we are looking at it as a
community issue.
A community issue, one tribe versus another.
No.
When it is an enterprise that is being funded by well-protected people who the government is not taking action on. If action was taken against these people,
that's it.
Then that is
we
it.
would not even need to
this.
deploy, the community youth to become home guards. We don't need that. Sniff out our persons who are running this racket, who's financing this thing, who's creating that huge demand, because this is a huge demand for animals to actually end up somewhere. Who's this? Who's off-taking the animals? Who's providing the arms? Who's providing the logistics for this thing to happen? Like you asked, Mheshimiwa Nanok, is it really difficult for intelligence agencies to find out this in this country? We have seen the work of intelligence agencies in this country. They sniff out some guy who has crossed through the border somewhere and has come and lived in a community, and they sniff them out. They pick that person up? Is it really difficult to pick out the people who are financing this?
That's what I'm saying, Latif. It should be intelligence-driven interventions. We just can't continue firefighting. We've seen this fight here today, and we are deploying. After a month, we are off. It should be continuous. It should be continuous. Latif, there is something I want to say. The question, like what is happening between Turkana County and West Pokot, there is a simmering conflict between the two counties in terms of boundaries. It is a question that I'm told went even to the Senate sometimes back. I think government needs to bring that equation into this matrix.
How long has that conflict existed, Mheshimiwa?
Well, it's a sense of it's been there. It has been there. Only that there are no points of ventilation. I don't think there has been a discussion touching on this question.
On how to address
the boundary. Yes, the boundary between the Turkana and the Pokots of West Pokot and Baringo. The Kapedo problem.
Yes.
That's a big one as well.
Does Kapedo belong to Turkana County or it belongs to Baringo County? We can't run away.
Let's go to the news and then we continue the conversation, because we'd also like to hear from the people what they think about this deployment of the military. Is it going to solve the insecurity challenges in the North Rift? Good morning, 9 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Morning, this is News. I'm Dennis Aseto. Troops have been deployed to the country's drought-stricken north to flush out cattle rustlers and bandits who have killed dozens and displaced thousands. Areas targeted include Turkana, Samburu, Pokot, Baringo, Laikipia and Elgeyo Marakwet. More than 100 civilians and 16 police officers have lost their lives at the hands of marauding bandits and livestock rustling terrorists in the northern Rift Valley region over the past 6 months, according to the Interior Ministry. The theft of livestock or quarrels over grazing and water sources are common between cattle herding communities in northern Kenya. Hundreds of people have been forced to flee their homes, declaring a national emergency and ordering citizens to surrender any illegal firearms within the next 3 days. These process continues. We continue to follow up on that. Be sure that Newswire will be bringing you the very latest in a subsequent news bulletin. Now, the Ministry of Health, in collaboration with the University of Nairobi, has launched an online system to track drugs and treatment of patients within its facilities. The University of Nairobi Vice Chancellor Professor Stephen Kiama says the system will help minimize cases of drug theft and keep proper records of patients seeking healthcare within the institution's health facilities. The Ministry of Health has worked with the University of Nairobi's ICT and UHS in the development, implementation and launch of the digital health system. According to Ministry of Health, the digital health system aims to improve the quality of healthcare and increase patients' access to information. The head of Division of Health Information in the Ministry of Health, Wesley Oga, lauded the university for being a pacesetter in adopting technology in healthcare provision. The Kenya Investment Authority has renewed its 8-year bilateral partnership with the Japan External Trade Organization, JETRO, reaffirming its commitment to collaborate in the areas of promotion and facilitation of investments between Kenya and Japan. Under the renewed MOU, Ken Invest and JETRO will collaborate in promoting and facilitating investments in Kenyan and Japanese companies, as well as also conduct joint investment promotion and trade missions. Ken Invest and JETRO will also conduct joint policy and commercial advocacy to support a conducive investment climate and compile comprehensive and reliable investment statistics, including information exchange and arrangement for the sharing of such information in the trade and investment sector. Taita Taveta County is earmarked for Green Bond Potential Assessment, a move geared towards unlocking additional resources for mitigation ravaging effects of climate change through green financing, Financial Sector Deepening Trust Kenya has said. According to FSD Kenya, the county is among 9 counties targeted for development support through inclusive financial markets in Kenya. FSD Kenya Chief Executive Officer Tamara Cook said green county bonds present an opportunity for counties to generate resources for the much needed development of county infrastructure such as water piping, county roads, and the development of agriculture. Starlink, the satellite internet firm owned by tech titan Elon Musk, is entering Rwanda just weeks after it began rolling out in Nigeria. The internet provider is lined up for launch in a number of African states such as Kenya and Mozambique to take on local telcos with the promise of delivering speeds of over 150 megabytes per second, following an announcement by the Rwanda Space Agency in early February that it had licensed Starlink to operate in the country. The Rwandan government has said public schools will be given top priority during the rollout. According to the country's Minister of ICT and Innovation, Paula Ingabire, the initial plan is to pilot it in at least 500 schools by February 22nd. Now, the African Union Commission has announced that it will be sending a 90-strong observer mission to Nigeria for this month's elections. Africa's most populous country goes to the polls on February 25th, but has been plunged into crisis in the run-up to the vote with dire shortages of cash and fuel. The African Union Election Observation Group is being headed by former Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta, who helped broker a deal to end 2 years of war in northern Ethiopia and is mediating in the conflict in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. The AU said the objectives of the mission were to provide an accurate and impartial assessment of the electoral process, offer recommendations for any improvement in future polls, and to demonstrate African Union support towards the consolidation of democracy, peace, stability, and development in Nigeria. Nearly 100 million people will vote to choose the successor of President Muhammadu Buhari, who steps down after 2 terms as Nigeria struggles with widespread insecurity and economic malaise. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, a few minutes after 9 o'clock, and we're still looking at traffic in certain parts of the city. It's not so bad on the Thika Superhighway right about now. Actually clean until you get to the Pangani underpass. Kiambu Road has done very well today. 3 stars for you. Coming off Gong Road doesn't look too bad either. Limuru Road, okay, still struggling towards that finish line of the traffic hour. We'll keep an eye on that. The Southern Bypass, just a smidgen of traffic as you get off the Likoni interchange, but then you'll be all right as you get beyond that. I think we've done very well for a Wednesday morning. On the Eastern Bypass, that also is looking pretty good. Congratulations on your well-carpeted road. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Let's see what it looks like in about half hour when we'll be out of traffic hour in an attempt to keep things moving this morning.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room.
The final hour of the Situation Room this Wednesday morning. Our guests are still here. Dominic Wabala, security expert and journalist, and Daniel Nanok, the MP for Turkana West. We're talking about deployment of extra security personnel, including the KDF, to the strife-torn north of the country. We've seen these kind of operations before, without the military, some with the military, in these particular regions, where the outcry from the community is police came and they were just knocking and banging our doors down and entering the house and beating up everybody and saying, Toa bunduki. And you're beaten until bunduki toke. In some cases, yes, they'll find a bunduki. In other cases, they'll not find a bunduki. But the thing is, after they've gone, the aftermath of that operation is people just complaining that, wow, this was completely inhumane. Now, how do you balance between dealing with the kind of people that you know are killers, because we have seen they are killers. Just the other day, this week, they have killed police officers, armed police officers, killed them. How do you balance between that and balance also with the issue of maintaining law and order versus maintaining people's dignity and human rights? This is the conversation we want to continue with this hour, and we'll open up the phone lines as well for you to join the conversation and contribute. 0719 012 600. Okay. Thank you, Ndu. Thank you, my sister. Siti,
yes, please.
Remind us the proverb.
It's still from that country of Zambia.
Okay.
He who paddles two canoes sinks.
He who paddles two canoes
sinks.
Which are these two canoes?
Well,
because how possible is it to paddle two canoes?
You've gotten the heart of the matter. That's precisely the point.
That's why you'll sink.
That's why you will sink.
It doesn't happen. And so there's no one to sink.
Well, yes, there are those individuals who think they can. And when they think they can, the outcome is the one we're referring to.
It's like the hyena, the forked road. How can you really be on two roads at the same time? It's impossible. But that's it. That's a point.
Yeah.
So we continue this conversation, and gentlemen and lady, the issue is about the operation and whether the operation is going to bear fruit, and the best way then to make sure that we restore order in these counties. From experience, from what you've seen before, Dominic, look at this one. Look at what happened in Mount Elgon. Mount Elgon, there was a whole issue of, Matakwe and the SLDF and how they were handled and how they were dealt with. Military was there, but working under the police.
No, I think the best thing would be to involve the community. It is only when you involve the community that you can successfully do an operation, or you can successfully purport to have solved a situation. One thing we need to do as a country is to understand that the people most afflicted are the ones. They are the ones who are concerned. They are the only ones who have the interest of that issue.
The real victims.
The real victims. So these should be involved. Like Mheshimiwa has just mentioned, NPR. NPR are the locals. Train, arm them. They are the ones who will give that intelligence. If there's a movement of animals or raiders, so they are the only people who can say this is what is happening. I mean, you don't expect to pick up Dominic, who's grown up in Nairobi, and take him to Suguta Marmar and expect that he's going to survive. It is not possible. Dominic can't walk 20 kilometers. It is only the locals.
20 kilometers, yes.
And where is the role of technology in fighting banditry? This country is way up there in terms of the use of IT. Yeah, we have the drones. Yeah, instead of subjecting our officers to following bandits who are armed and can ambush them and waylay them and kill them, maybe we would rather use a drone to surveillance the area, to follow where these raiders are getting into or where they are hiding, and find another way, a different way of dealing with it. I'm bringing here the question of use of technology in dealing with this banditry problem. The operation must succeed, Latif. It should succeed. I don't like us saying whether it will succeed, because the whether it will succeed is what will kill the hope of the people of the North. That it will be just like all those others.
But what will success look like in your opinion?
Silencing the guns, the mobility of the people and their livelihood activities going on, and being sure that tomorrow is going to be there, unless, sickness and stuff like that. For me, if this operation will succeed, the highway between Kainuk and, say, Lodwar, Kitale, or Lodwar Kainuk for that matter, will be safe to drive through. You don't have to be escorted, because then that will open our county for business. People will be free to move. The road between Lokichar and Kapedo should be motorable, good enough for anybody who is doing their economic activity to continue. And that we will not be treating gun wounds in our hospitals. We will not be burying our people. That is the situation I see. Okay, but I know you look very skeptical of what I'm saying. But that is the picture you've asked me to paint. That is what I hope I can get.
It isn't skepticism. Okay? What you're seeing is me pondering on the issue and looking at the complexity of it. Because we are talking about this issue as though it was invented by this current government. And in this country, it is historical. Every government we've had, from the colonialists to the first African government, has played a part in what we are now discussing.
Can I chip in?
Please.
I have hope in this government. From day one, the president has consistently talked of what we've been missing for a long, long time. Goodwill, political goodwill. The desire to end this, and backed it up by the actions. They may have delayed. It may be seen to be done haphazardly or, I don't know, not in a very nice way, but there is the intent to see this thing come to an end. It's the how. It's the how. And that should be a challenge to our security officers. That this time round, can they make the president's goodwill work?
I'm going to say two things. One, the region we speak of, that northern part, northern, western, eastern
North Rift
of the country, it actually goes beyond North Rift because it covers even the northern part of Kenya.
Yes, true.
There may be unique triggers that brought about some of these situations of insecurity that we talk about, but it boils down to, in my mind, one thing. And I'm going to juxtapose it to what we asked about Nairobi. I know of a Nairobi when walls were just knee-high, to the point where now you can't see buildings because they are walls. Now, this is my thought. The real security is not in big guns, security organizations, more police, more this. Security is when people feel, one, they belong, they also feel that their interests are taken care of. It's people who provide security, not guns, it's people. That's my thought. Now, why do I say this? Every time we've had these operations, whether it is in northern Kenya, North Rift, the length of time I've lived on this planet and in this country, what I have seen is that the people in those regions where these operations have taken place are more disenfranchised and they're more distant from the government than they were before. So I have to ask the question, what really is achieved? And that resultant issue that I'm referring to is what is the ecosystem and the breeding ground for the continuity of this banditry, which has now morphed into this large-scale enterprise.
And so I agree with you, Muga. Those deployed should now do it differently. There should be a building of bridges between these forces and the community, so that the community can willingly give them whatever information is required to nip this thing in the bud. The strategy must change. And I hope that the officers deployed will have that mindset. That
have we trained them differently?
Well, it's not even about training, really, because Muga,
yes.
I have confidence in the security officers of this country to do a good job if they mean to. Mm-hmm. Look at what has happened to the attacks we were having, the terror attacks in this country, when we started in 2013 and where we are now. Look at what has happened with Somalia, say even Jubaland or this section where the KDF were deployed. And the way the problems there have gone down, they cannot completely be eradicated because these are human enterprise. These are people involved. So I want to believe that if our forces mean to execute this, and the observation you just made, until we know, what Natembeya said was very telling, that those he sat with to plan the operation to get rid of the bandits in Laikipia were the ones who are involved. That statement. So if our officers, if we are able, and our intelligence, I believe, can do that, they should be able to.
They do it very well. They do it very well. Very, very. Mheshimiwa,
at least it will reduce.
Mheshimiwa,
I hope it will.
The reason why what you're calling terror attacks and all this, do you know why we have special units? There are many. I don't even know all of them. I think I only know 3.
Deploy them.
These people are trained specifically to deal with this problem. Now, you don't know they're dealing with it, but part of the time, what they prevent from happening is greater than what you hear.
Correct.
Because they are trained, they know what they are doing. They're our unsung heroes. Now, you cannot tell me that this problem, they're dealing with a live animal, a rather huge one at that, and in large numbers moving, and you can see, and you're telling me that we have been unable to get the special unit that was created for this purpose to do what these other units are doing in a far more sophisticated criminal environment. Surely.
A more realistic look, Muga. You know, by the way, this deployment is not necessarily because of the livestock that have been driven. By the way, there were no livestock that were driven away. There was an attempted theft. Okay? I think it got to that point where government said enough is enough when the officers were killed, those police vehicles were banned, and that was not the first one. It started last year in November when they these bandits killed the 8 GSU officers in Napeitom, in Turkana East,
and the woman lady.
and that peace ambassador, the late Mary. So it is an accumulation of the deaths and how cruel they are. Okay, that government seems, in my mind, in my thinking, it's not just about the cattle, because at this point in time there were no cattle that were really being driven away. It was that
it's about this emerging force that's like trying to stand up.
These people are standing up against the government, actually. But will they be known? This is my worry. Will they be brought out? If they are known, then those are the people that the operation should deal with.
Focus.
And if they get rid of not all of them, if they get rid of some of those guys, I think a lesson will be taken.
Cut off the
By
head.
the way, SLDF, what happened with SLDF? Do we hear about that?
When Matakwe was paraded, and the body of Matakwe was paraded, what was it?
That's it.
That sent a message.
Yeah.
Dominic.
My question, Mheshimiwa, is assuming that animals are what is causing all this, would chipping of these animals solve the problem?
That is the technology I was talking about.
Yes, in that technology.
And why not? Just to differentiate my cow from your cow, or this cow in this county from that cow from the other county.
Would that,
why not? Why not? It should be done if it is going to stop the theft.
It won't be done.
But I think I get what Muga is actually emphasizing. That the way we've been dealing with the North, the way Kenya government has been dealing with the Northern Kenya as part of this country hasn't given the Northern people the confidence to believe that government is there for their good.
Yeah.
And that needs to be dealt with.
Indeed.
Yeah?
But won't we see all of these actions and then the subsequent action until and unless it ceases to be commercial benefit to certain individuals, we will not see any of these things that you're talking about come into place. We won't. Until it ceases to be an interest, until the head is actually cut off, until that action happens whereby folks can see, okay, hold on a minute, these guys are serious. And that will only take place when the shillings stop dropping. And that's it. Secondly, we talk about security forces, which we know. Look, I have never had a doubt. Security forces, well trained. I mean, for crying out loud, look at where they are in different parts of the region. Somalia, look at where they have been. Look at where they are right now in DR Congo. What are we talking about? People who are not worth their metal? They know exactly what they're doing. Some of the best in the region, all right? Then we want to come and say, actually, you know what? They're not able to handle a matter in northern Kenya. I'm sorry, but tell us something else. But then you have to ask, who is pulling the puppet strings?
You know,
until we're ready to deal with that, then we can be having a conversation about the rain.
Until the cows come to
we can be talking about anything.
The issue here, though, Mheshimiwa, and this is where now you as the elected leaders come in and you're on the spot. This matter is going to come to Parliament.
Yeah.
It'll be discussed at some point. You will see members of Parliament standing up and talking so emotionally about the insecurity in the area, and yes, this government is committed. Those that will be speaking for government will be saying the government is committed. Others will be saying the government should commit further. But will the right questions really come out of Parliament? Question number one for me, and I'm very insistent on this, is the demonstration by the executive that Parliament can be a by the way is already a big one. And this is where Parliament needs to start by stamping its authority and saying, we are not a by the way. You cannot go and decide and gazette and then come to us and say, oh, by the way, there's that small matter that we've already announced. Can you quickly just approve so that it's an emergency?
Never,
it's an emergency.
Never. This one, ever.
Secondly, there should be proper demand for a proper plan. So what is the plan? So after these 30 days, what is the plan? What are you going in to do? So we are deploying the military to go and do this and the other. What are you going to do? What are the issues that really affect this region? How about the equalization fund and actually making sure that the equalization fund is out? Money can go and start developing those things. This road from Lokichar to Kapedo, how soon can we start seeing this road being made? How soon can we start seeing more schools and hospitals? How soon? What's let's just use that word, the Marshall Plan for the North? If we don't have those questions coming out of Parliament at this time when you have actually the opportunity, you'll have dropped the ball.
I do not want to jump the gun or anticipate that debate. I want that motion to come. And I believe those of us from the North Rift or the northern part of Kenya are a large group. By the way, we have the Pastoralist Parliamentary Group. It's a caucus of the Kenya Parliament with a membership of 102 members, senators and MPs. That is a huge team.
Yep.
Unfortunately, this huge team are the ones that are fighting in between, amongst
fighting.
They are the ones that are stealing from each other in terms of the people, of course. And maybe government needs to give us a hearing this time round. Government needs to listen to us as the people.
But how does the government listen to you, Mheshimiwa? Sorry for interrupting you. When you are actually confessing here to us that among us, the one or two, you are still fighting.
If there's no cohesion.
It's not as it were. There is a lot of progress, by the way, that has been made in terms of bringing the people together. We just held our elections last 2 weeks ago, the parliamentary group.
For this caucus?
For the caucus. And I happen to have been elected the chair. Each of the 15 counties that form the PPG gave a member into the executive. So there are 15 members of the executive of the PPG. That is the one I am referring to as being the vice chair too. And we are communicating, we are talking. Previously, even the MPs themselves would not.
People are dying.
It is progress, Muga. It's not what it was.
It is very slow progress.
And the point I want to make here is that when that debate will come, I am sure the members of the PPG will speak as one
chairman,
one voice
chairman.
On this one.
Have you convened this caucus to sit and discuss what your position will be in the House?
Actually, we are meant to caucus today.
Okay.
We're meant to meet today.
Has there been a conversation that will lead into, as you're chairing this PPG today, has there been a conversation on, so this is the position that we ought to take in terms of this is what we should be demanding or this we should be asking for? Are irreducible minimums for us to vote yes for the KDF to go? Because with 100 and plus votes, if you say no, that's a significant number.
That is the matter that we will discuss. We are alive to what is happening. We represent the people of these counties, and we live this situation. And so we will make our voice heard. We will make our voice count in the debate and even to the government. Because I know the president has been, by the way, he's been favorable to the team. He's the one who opened the induction workshop of this caucus. And so this is the goodwill that we've been yearning for. So we believe we can get commitment from the government. And that commitment will involve the leadership of the northern region of this country.
You're the most experienced parliamentarian among them.
Well, I'm not the only one. We are several of us. There is Mheshimiwa Samuel Moroto of Kapenguria. He's doing his fifth term.
Yes, Moroto has been there, yes.
And our patron, Mheshimiwa Raso from Saku in Marsabit. We're doing, he's also doing his third term. Major Bashir is the chairman of the PPG. He's doing his second term. So I think we will want to be counted for our people.
Let's take a break. After the break, we want to hear from you. We want to open the phone lines. Speak to the Honorable Daniel Nanok, Turkana West MP, and also to our other guest, Dominic Wabala, who is a journalist and a security expert. He's been a crime reporter for many years and a security reporter for many years. He has covered many of these conflicts within the country and some outside. Showmax reminds you to do the thing because it's doing the thing.
It's giving you all you need to do is subscribe for your monthly package and they'll give you a month for free. At the very least, 300 shillings for your package. Whatever it is that you subscribe to, they will give you an extra month free. It is the month of giving. Showmax in a give.
0719 012 600. I'm glitching that number today completely, totally buffering. 072 0719 012 600. We'll pick your calls after this.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
I have a brother. He was a pilot. He was laid off. He came to a policeman. He messed up.
He went from a pilot to a policeman.
Exactly.
He stole a jet.
Yeah.
In fact, you should be lucky he was not court-martialed.
The Spice Drive. Big hair and the biggest hits from the best decade.
Indeed, Indeed, it's all about hashtag Spice Drive, hashtag Quatch, KWACH, 3 to 7 in the PM.
The Spice Drive, only on 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Damn.
Get 2 months of Showmax for the price of one. In a give, Real Housewives, rich auntie vibes, and that bling. Sama kuwa moka. Toast to luxury. In a give, single Cassie, girl power. Cheers! And gravity-defying Top Gun victory flyby.
Haven't any fun yet?
Woo! In a give kupindukia. So subscribe now to get 2 months for the price of one from only 300 shillings for limited time. In a give Showmax. Sign up at
The sun is up
showmax.com.
high at 22 in Nairobi, highs of 30 and lows of 16. It's 18 and sunny in Nakuru, highs of 29 and lows of 13. We'll see lows of 12 in Nyeri, where it's sunny at 18, going to highs of 30, and 27 will be the high in Eldoret, where it's sunny at 20. 29 and mostly sunny conditions in Mombasa, highs of 32 and lows of 25. And we'll see lows of 26 in a sunny Malindi at 28. It's 26 and sunny in Kisumu, highs of 33 and lows of 20, while sunny in Kakamega at 27 will go to highs of 32 and lows of 17. Looking out into Kampala, it's sunny at 26, highs of 30, and we'll see highs of 31 in Dar es Salaam, where the sun is up at 28. Cloudy at 18 in Johannesburg, going to highs of 23 and lows of 16, while it's partly sunny now in Lagos at 26. We'll see highs of 35 and lows of 25. It's sunny at 23 in Kinshasa, highs of 31 and lows of 23. Looking out into Beijing, sunny at 4, highs of 5 and lows of -7. It's 0 in Paris. It's clear, however, and it'll go to highs of 12, 3 and hazy in London with highs of 14. And Tuesday night still is cloudy at 7 in New York, coming into Wednesday, highs of 18 and lows of 7.
Spice and everything nice. All right.
Spice up your life.
Not having much of a tough traffic situation in most parts of the city this morning. We're just looking at the last of it coming off Limuru Road, and much better now off Juja Road, Kangunda Road, Manyanja Road. All of this touching on Outer Ring, much better situation. Let's take a look at Landys. That was looking pretty messy just a while ago, but yes, much better now. Coming off of Jogo Road Ride about the City Stadium roundabout. Also looking at coming out of Westlands, not too painful. Not for now. Traffic hour is over. Through the morning, talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Okay, so the phone lines are now open 0719-012-600. Minor in Nyeri, yes, you were calling earlier. You can call now. We'll be able to pick your call. We're asking, what will it take to end insecurity in northern Kenya? What will it take to end insecurity in northern Kenya? Jonathan Nyinya on Twitter says, the KDF and the police have got no difference apart from the machines that they carry. This approach is more crude. I think the supply of recruits into the banditry should be cut off by including civilization, economic and infrastructure development in these areas. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done, just beyond sending in the guns and the vehicles and the ammunition and then coming out and leaving people, some of them maimed, others parading them in police stations and then taking them to court. Beyond that, what is it that we do with this?
Eric, look at northern Kenya, just northern, not North Rift. That region had similar problems to the ones we're talking about in the North Rift. Coming from Mombasa, going to Garsen, man, it was at your own peril, at your own risk. A lot of those problems have ended. What we have now are these terror attacks, okay? But look at the community that predominantly comes to that region. Many of them got into business. Commercial business.
Yep.
Now, the very traits and thinking that they had before, because they're also pastoralists, they are now engaged in business. And just look at how that community has risen and how they become prominent in business. That focus. So if you're talking about people being able to change, they can. The Pokomo and the Wardei, who are their neighbors, the Wardei being a community from the Kenyan Somali community, were always in conflict. Once in a while something flares up. But the frequency with which it flared up, that one ceased. So how did it happen?
Mugam, if I may ask,
Yes.
do we then think that or believe that resources have a role to play?
Huge.
And wait a minute, and that the leadership of North Rift has not helped them as those in the north have been helped. Because look, we have had devolution.
Yep.
Devolution was supposed to bring leadership and resources closer to the people.
Bring it
Yep.
to the
local level. Yeah, we have had these cases of these reports of resources meant for the counties ending up in Nairobi and the other cities building apartments and the likes of it. Is it so different what the North has done than what the North Rift has done, the leadership?
It's a community. Look at the way the community functions. People talk about the democratic style of that region, where leaders are chosen communally. They decide, this is the person who's going to lead us. They decide. So that public participation, they were way ahead of the 2010 constitution. Now, some may say that's not democracy really, but people participate and agree that this is the person we want. And they have a hierarchy, you have elders. Now, because they're able to coalesce together as units within their communities or within their clans, they're able to do a great deal. You can see the ascendance. If you've been alive long enough, you can see the point from which the Kenyan Somali community were pastoralists like others and how they have moved, and now they're a commercial and almost an industrial force in the country, as we see. It is not something that you need. Don't study a book. It's happening before your very eyes on a daily basis.
So, City,
yes,
was it resource mobilization, resource allocation into these counties? Was it that the leadership of these counties has used the platforms that they have better in terms of representation, in terms of resource management?
The resources that came into the county system simply assisted what was already in existence, because the communities seem to have understood how to work as units and to work well. And in such places, it is very easy to come to a consensus and to bring certain things to a halt or to move them forward. Because once the leaders who are accepted by that community have assented to it, then the forward movement is not difficult. Yes.
Which you're actually saying it is lacking in the Rift.
Oh, it's absent. It's not lacking. It's completely absent. It's not there.
Let me chip in there.
Yes.
And that is a good discussion to pursue. The question of resources. The question that you raised about having a Marshall Plan for these regions. And yes, devolution has been with us for the last, how many?
10 years.
10 years.
10 years,
Yep.
And some of these counties that are affected by this conflict have gone ahead of the others. Yeah? I think simply because of the way they apply the resources that they have been getting as counties. There is the question of devolution and whether it has made us better than we were. There is a lot of pilferage, I think, in our counties. To the extent, some of the question I'm asked is, you get 12 billion shillings per year in your county. Money that, by the way, we never used to get. If we were getting any money, maybe the salaries and whatever for government staff that used to work in the former Turkana district, hardly 2 billion in a year. Now you're getting 12 billion, or 10 billion for that matter. So 5 times what you are getting. Can we see that on the ground? And there are questions on that. Yeah. In terms of the question of stopping the recruits into banditry, it's about empowerment, economic empowerment. I like the question that Dominic brought. Is it Dominic that brought out the traders, the business community? No, it was Morgan. Yeah, these guys used to raid each other. They used to steal from one another. Now they no longer do it. they have decided to take on the business angle to it, and it is better, it is more peaceful, and they can continue with their life. These are some of the things that are missing, I think, in some of these conflict-prone counties, West Pokot, Turkana, Samburu, even Tiati for that matter. How many of them are involved in business-related activities so that they do not find themselves in this banditry economy that we are having in the North Rift. So yes, government.
So the only employer is this criminal activity.
Kind of. You know, and look at even the situation now. We are living in a drought. Okay.
Yep.
Lack of water, lack of pasture, and therefore there is no lack of food. We are actually asking for food relief in order to survive. If that is what obtains, surely, then life is really tough for the people in the North Rift. If government can come in this manner, the funds that we receive, there should be robust ways of accountability. And you know, that is an executive function now.
Yeah.
The investigative function. These are executive functions. To look at how this money is being spent, whether the intended purpose was, objective was achieved, is an integrity.
There's also a parliamentary function.
The parliamentary function, you know, we oversight.
Yep.
Okay, we oversight. But you know, with devolution now, oversighting of a county government is bestowed on the county assembly. And you look at what happens there, and you know, I can't stand for some of the things that they may decide to do, but they are doing their role. You see, I am here to oversight national government functions and MDS. That aspect needs to be improved in these counties. The question that Dominic raised of, you know, instead of this money developing the northern Kenya, it's coming back to build apartments in Nairobi, in Eldoret, and wherever. If a layman can notice that, why wouldn't the investigative arms of government notice that?
And trace it.
And hold someone to and nothing has happened.
Yep.
Kenyans in their wisdom felt and nothing has happened.
Yep.
Kenyans in their wisdom felt that they needed to carry all Kenyans with them together.
Yes.
Okay. So create this fund and apply it to those areas that were left behind. Latif and Tim, what has happened in this parliament is terrible. Everybody now wants to have a pie of that fund, including Nairobi.
Equalization has now been devolved towards.
Is being redistributed to everybody.
Somebody wants to be more equal.
Pockets of areas of poverty. Yeah? That fund has done nothing.
Nonetheless, even if the equalization fund was actually operationalized today and say, let's base the unit for equalization as the ward, you'll still find that your areas have more wards. Each ward in your constituency.
Not wards, but maybe, there are more wards in some of these.
But each ward in your constituency qualifies for equalization fund. And there's some constituencies where maybe just one or two wards would qualify. So all your wards in the former Turkana district, the
whole
Baringo district,
yes, exactly.
The entire county qualifies for the equalization fund.
Yes.
Push for it to be implemented and operationalized and brought to the ground. You have more money to add on to the 10 billion. Right? And this talks about then what happens. I think the question is there a push and a proper agenda that the government has to uplift these areas? Is there a push? When you talk about infrastructure and lacking infrastructure, is there such a push? When you talk about agriculture, whether it's crop development or livestock production, is there a proper plan? This is livestock production. This is what we shall do for pasture. This is what we shall do for market. This is how we shall do to get the product to market.
These are some of the questions that I think when the PPG will meet His Excellency and his government, we will put to him. that this was the route given to us by the rest of the country, that we will come up, leverage ourselves on this equalization to be at some acceptable level with the rest of the country. Can it be? Can we get the goodwill now? Can we get the government to push for this? You know, there's been this tug of war between who implements equalization. Is it the national government? Is it the county governments? The functions? I don't know, and all this. You know, politics of power games, I would say, have come to play in delaying the implementation of this fund. But good enough, the National Assembly or Parliament has been allocating equalization fund, their portion of the money. So the money is there. Yeah, and we only need now to do the appropriation and spend on the projects that are going to make a change. If those changes come into play, Latif and team, I believe this banditry thing will be given will take a different angle. By the way, it is not as it was. It is not. A lot has changed. What to me has happened? The metamorphosis that has happened with this banditry is the terror aspect that has been brought in, you know? And this terror aspect is not for livestock stealing. It's for human beings. It is for land. It is displacement. It is to create fear so that people don't live in these areas. And then you can have what you want. Yeah? It is actually terrorism that is coming up in the northern now. But it's creating, you can imagine the burning of schools. What animals are in the schools? Yeah. The burning of houses and homes. A whole village is set on fire. Yeah? Why would you want to do that? And there are no animals that you are stealing even after doing that. So that is basically displacement of populations.
Dominic. But Mheshimiwa, we know that we have cut down boundaries. That we know that West Pokot is this size, and these are the boundaries. It extends to this place. We know Turkana North, Turkana South. We know their boundaries. So regardless of how many times you ban schools and you kill people, you won't change those boundaries until the independent boundaries and Electoral and Boundaries Commission does that. So how does that come to play in the displacement?
You know, Dominic, I've told you the question of boundaries is in this current flare-ups. Our brothers occupy a hilly, mountainous area. The Turkana County, for that matter, is a plain area. And so capable of having more fodder, okay? At least for that, fodder, grass. And then settlement also, in terms of people settling. So when you ban, you're basically chasing away the inhabitants, yeah? And creating an open place where you, if you want, you can move in and you can settle in. And then with the aid of these firearms, you can defend. Yeah?
Yeah.
This is basically what is happening in Turkana East, in Turkana South. Okay? Unless there is a counter force that will not allow you, after you have done that, you defend, unless you have a counter force that can flush you away. And maybe this is where the KDF and the police operation that is now on will be of help. In terms of telling, I mean, these aggressors, I would say, no, you cannot use force to settle. By the way, we can live peacefully. We can graze together. We can water our animals together on a dialogue, on understanding that my place is having no grass. We are short of water. Your place has plenty of grass. Why don't we graze together? That has happened, and it can happen again and again. Because even the Turkanas move. My people are in Uganda as I speak. Why are they there? Because they are looking for water and pasture. Not to go and raid. Not to go and increase their herds by stealing. And that engagement is done and we are allowed to move. Why can't the West Pokot residents and the Turkana residents be able to speak and share the resources without the use of the gun? Without the use of the gun. Development is a big one.
It's a key. There are some comments on social media, and
so
Keep Career Bore says,
Right.
what Governor Natembeya said is true. Banditry is a huge business controlled by the bigwigs in the political system. I feel that most MPs from the affected areas have the ability to end the menace, not even the KDF, since they do well know what's happening. They rush to State House for cameras, and at night they fund the said bandits. Tragic and ridiculous.
Bet says one thing is clear: banditry is a huge business enterprise run by powerful individuals in government. He says, everybody. Oh, he said, "Wow, all presidents have always been masked from seeing through the scheme. That's if one was not an accomplice. After the elections, the financiers who used to get in and out of courts changed political allegiance." Okay, so basically, the belief is that there's an enterprise going on here. And that is what needs to be cut out. And it just seems that there are layers. But again, it seems that you can cut right through to the issue. And the question is, how ready are certain quarters ready to do certain things? Number one, speak about what you know to be the truth. Number two, act on what you know you have been given the mandate and power to do. And then, number three, close the taps. How willing are the different entities ready to do those different things?
You know, there's a psychological term called conditioning. When banditry or any criminal enterprise or theft or anything that actually breaks the law is regularized and it's actually made to be, it's normalized. What you then do, the mind finds it acceptable. So you hear people are dead. Oh, okay, how many? 3. Oh, it's a serious issue, but it's been normalized.
True.
Now, no one really kicks a big fuss when you hear. I was looking at the papers today. Police vehicle, IED, Pew.
Wow.
People died, sorry. I'm thinking, oh, again.
Imagine.
That is the real tragedy. Now, what then happens to children who are born in war-torn areas? Because this is a war-torn area. What is their conditioning? And what are these people going to be? And the people we're talking about, these aren't people who are my age. Or no one's age yet. These are very young people.
Teenagers in some cases.
So,
they are.
And what do you think of those who look up to them?
And so, if you look at the trend of these crimes, those who are on the receiving end, I mean, I don't know, Dominic should have studied and brought out some of these things. If you look at those who are on the receiving end of this banditry, many of them have actually moved away from their original lifestyles. They are going to school. Well, most of their kids are going to school. And so the recruits are fewer into that banditry economy. Many of them are becoming farmers. Along River Takwel, there are irrigation schemes. And people are busy trying to make a living by farming. I think that may not be said of our colleagues who are aggressing. They seem to have a continuous flow of recruits into this business, into this banditry thing. They are not attending school.
Precisely. Yeah? There's a direct correlation with the levels of literacy and banditry.
Yes. And so government needs to come in there so as to help deal with these ones who are not attending school, who are being recruited into this banditry economy because that is the only lifestyle, even as they defend these ones who have shifted their lifestyle now to education, to farming, and they are ready to abide. Whether that is the case, currently, no, it is not. Yeah, and the level of killings, by the way, can be very traumatizing. These people who are burnt in Nadome, the women and the children who are burnt in their houses. What does that leave you with? You know. So Muga, when you talk of conditioning, you are a bitter child. You grow to become a bitter adult. And so you refer to your fellow Kenyan as an enemy.
Yeah.
Yeah? And that's what the Turkanas, by the way, do.
Vendetta.
Yep.
And you live with it. And you live with it. So really, this operation, as I see it, should not even be given time frame. Disarmament should be a continuous exercise. This thing should continue.
Should continue, but a lot more.
Again,
like
it should be driven by intelligence.
Yes.
Okay? We must just isolate these criminals.
Yes.
The moment we will isolate the criminals, they will tell you that big guy. Because when they raid the cows, they must be selling it.
They know who they know who.
So
they
who is that who is buying?
Let's wait and see what your caucus does,
Yeah.
and what your caucus brings to the house to the floor of the house.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Daniel Nanok, MP Turkana West, for joining us. I know you're rushing to Parliament.
Yes.
All the best. Go and address that issue. Dominic Wabala is a journalist. He has covered matters of security for many years. He is now a security expert. Thank you for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation. Have a lovely day. We'll be back tomorrow. It's now 10 a.m.